Ooh, how's it going, everyone? How is it going? Quite a ride indeed. Quite a ride. It is, in fact, over at Phoenix. Yes, it is. My goodness gracious, I have an amalgam of emotions going through my head right now in respect to that episode. My goodness, I don't even really know where to begin. I'm still processing it, honestly. I honestly truly don't even know how I feel about that ending yet. My emotions are still totally processing. I'm just really thinking about the rationale behind all of the characters and the decision making. And hey, what is up, everyone? How's it going? Yeah. Like I said, there were so many parts of that episode that I absolutely loved. I couldn't I couldn't say, I'd run out of superlatives to describe certain parts of that episode, but the ending, man, I don't even really know how to process that. I really don't. The ending, like I said, I'm not too sure. At Cody Man, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate it. Good time to wear the sunglasses if you're insinuating, to cover up the tears because the series is over. I see what you're saying there. So, yeah. Again, I'm still sort of processing that ending. Um, so many emotions. I'm thinking back to all of the other characters in Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. I'm thinking back to Jesse Pinkman, who I have a lot of thoughts about. Um, yeah, so my goodness. Uh, yeah, so I mean, I guess to sort of just kind of get into it here, I guess I'm just gonna break it down, sort of beginning to end, and uh, I have some thoughts about the change of heart that Saul Goodman had in that courtroom. Um, like I said, to sort of, I think the climax of that episode, I mean, when Saul went about that initial scam, when he had his plea deal taken down to 7 years from a life sentence plus, 90 years, I couldn't believe my jaw dropped when Saul was spinning that scam. I had not even considered that possibility where he would paint himself as the victim. And I was like, this is genius. You are a genius, Saul. You are a criminal mastermind. I did not even consider this fact where I am painting myself as a victim. There's no, dead to rights guilty evidence in all of this. I was hiding from Walt and I was hiding from Jesse. I was worried they were going to kill me when I fled to Omaha. I knew Walter White was dead, but I have plausible deniability because his partner, that horrible, evil Jesse Pinkman who kidnapped me and put a hood on my head and put a gun to my head in the desert, he's still out there and he may kill me. That's sort of the Saul's sort of rationale here where he gets his plea deal down to 7 years. And I said, oh my goodness, this man is a genius. But at the very end of the episode, when he basically takes the hit for Kim, I mean, I'm still having just the processing of Saul. I understand where basically Saul Goodman's coming from, and it's kind of weird. It's at Richie MC. Thank you so much for the super chat. Walt is wrong. Alan Alda is the thing man. Anton, when the one door closes, the other one opens. There will be another series to follow. Um, I really appreciate the super chat at Richie MC. Thank you so much. Are you talking about the Walter White scene that happened in the basement of Ed Disappear's vacuum cleaner repair store? I'm not too sure about the reference of Alan Alda. If maybe I'm missing something there, but yeah, I mean there are other series to follow for sure. And again, at Lauren Carl. I mean, like I said, when I'm gonna first talk about the part of the episode that I did not see coming. What a twist! I stood up and I couldn't believe it. Maybe the rest of you can felt the same way. But when Saul sort of, oh my goodness gracious, at Eddie, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate it. Hey Anton, thank you so much for these videos. Since Marion called the cops on Saul, does she get the $5 million reward? Again, that wasn't even really focused. I guess Thomas Schnauz was telling the truth about that one, how that was just a teaser and that really didn't factor in. I mean, Saul did go back to Albuquerque at Eddie, but yeah, you wonder if sort of, again, so many open-ended aspects. They didn't even sort of touch on Gus Fring. That scene in the wine bar is the very last scene of him that we ever get to see of Gus Fring in this series. So at Gary Mercado, at Christian Alejandro, I see the super chats. I'll get to them for sure. But yeah, you wonder. I mean, it's kind of left open-ended. The storyline of Jeff is sort of open-ended. We don't know what happens to him. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. The support is much appreciated. Thank you so much, man. But yeah, that's some food for thought there for sure at Eddie in respect to the $5 million reward. Again, we don't even technically know if that's canon. And also that the teaser that was released during the mid-season break of Kim taking the oath to become a lawyer again. Again, that was, I mean, again, that's not canon either. That was also just a teaser. Those two events never appeared in this episode or in this series at all. So, yeah, food for thought for sure at Eddie. And thank you so much for the super chat, man. I really appreciate the support. I mean, I guess she gets some reward, I would imagine. I don't know if the 5 million is canon, but when she gave that, she was the one who called, leading to the information leading to Saul Goodman's arrest. You'd imagine she'd be entitled to some reward at Eddie. So, yeah, man. Crazy, crazy that it's over for sure. But again, Thomas Schnauz, he was telling the truth on that one in respect to the $5 million. But again, so many sort of open-ended aspects of the storyline that we, that that we get to sort of ruminate on for forever. So, at Christian Alejandro, thank you so much for the super chat. Kim saved him. She talks, so he talked for her. I don't know about that. Again, I'll get to that for sure at Christian Alejandro. In respect to Kim saving him. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of weird. I feel like Saul kind of saved Kim. Again, that's kind of a very long, sort of complex plot that happened at the end of this episode, but I will sort of get to that for sure at Christian Alejandro. And thank you so much for the super chat. At Gary Mercado, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate all the support that you've given to this channel. You as well, Eddie. But going to take some time to really interpret all of this. Going to take some time to really interpret all that happened in that episode. Many religious overtones, the death of Saul and the resurrection of Jimmy. Saul had to die to take everyone's sins. Yeah, that's an interesting take there for sure at Gary Mercado. And again, sort of skipping around here, it's kind of weird, it's like originally Saul, like I said, that scene where he got his deal down to 7 years, where he spun that fiction, again, with plausible deniability that he was a victim. I literally just stood up and I couldn't believe it. Oh my God, this man is an evil genius. And I love that ending where Saul would sort of get away with the whole thing, where he would pay, only 7 years and he'd be able to live the rest of his life. But again, it was sort of weird the way they ended that episode, where sort of it was kind of the logic was, Saul, I'm not sorry for anything I did, so therefore I should go to jail. But it's sort of weird. It's sort of weird logic. It's like I'm sort of narking on myself, where I don't feel any remorse or guilt, so I'm a bad person, so I should go to jail. But it's sort of, it's hard to square that circle where he's being moral and amoral at the same time. It's kind of weird. And to sort of, parallel that with Jesse Pinkman, someone who's like, oh, I feel so terrible for all of the murders I committed, so therefore I should get off scot-free because I feel bad. It should be how the sort of person committing the crimes feels. Again, I'm still processing it, like you're saying as well, like Gary Mercado. Definitely still processing this ending for sure. But yeah, I'm sort of grappling with the logic of Saul Goodman at the end of this episode, where he sort of admits, I was an opportunist, I lied, I don't feel any regret of anything I did, I made millions of dollars, therefore I should, atone for my crimes and do the full, life sentence essentially. But if he was truly that sort of person who says, like, I don't feel, it's weird, I feel no remorse, so therefore I should serve my time, and that sort of makes me a good person. I guess that's sort of what they were going for at Gary Mercado. But again, after just finishing watching this episode a few minutes ago, I'm going to have to process it a little bit more until I sort of have a, final take on all of this. But thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate the support. And in terms of the sort of religious overtones, I'm not too well versed in that. But, again, I guess the sort of, yeah, like you're saying, again, there's a lot to ruminate on there for sure. So, definitely, again, it's kind of funny at Gary Mercado. I was going back to that scene in season 2 of Better Call Saul in the episode entitled Gloves Off, following the sort of commercial plot that happened when Jimmy was at Davison, Maine. Of course, he goes to Kim late at night, who's in doc review, and he tries to save her from sort of Howard Hamlin's punitive punishments. And of course, Kim says, you don't save me, I save me. But here, in a sort of weird way, Jimmy did save her. So again, a lot to think about here for sure at Gary Mercado. Again, I'm not going to have all the answers after just watching the show, the finale 5 minutes ago, but, still thinking about it for sure. And thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate all the support. Yeah, at the No Name 99, No Face 88, yeah, for sure. He definitely, again, with all the scenes that involve bringing back characters who had aged significantly, they sort of filmed them in the dark. Bryan Cranston definitely was wearing a ball cap for sure, but yeah, it's D-Bob JD. That one hurts, man. That one hurts for sure. I'm gonna, that one hurts. That does hurt for sure. So I know exactly what we're talking about there. So. Man, so again, I'm just really sort of processing sort of Saul's thoughts here. Again, that's sort of my initial reaction to all of this, where I don't feel bad about all of this. Yeah, I'm a bad person, and so I should go to jail. So yeah, again, that was that's kind of the sort of the sort of my thoughts on all of this right off the bat here. But like I said, I really wished, I sort of wished they would sort of paint sort of Saul as this evil genius here who sort of got away with the whole thing. I don't know. I was kind of leaning towards that. But again, that's not what Saul wanted. He sort of felt like he needed to atone for his sins, I suppose. And, despite the sort of weird relationship that he had with Kim Wexler, I wouldn't say weird, but very complicated relationship he had with Kim Wexler. He felt like saving her in the end. But at Suburban Catholic, thank you so much for the super chat. Better clap, call, clap emoji, Saul, clap emoji, clap emoji. Yeah, I mean, one of my, clearly, obviously, one of my favorite shows of all time. Unbelievable, show for sure. Again, still sort of grappling with the ending here. In respect to Saul Goodman's logic here at the end of this episode, but yeah, it's crazy that it's finally over at Suburban Catholic, and thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate the support. At Nick Russ, I'm very happy with the ending. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. I'm very happy with that ending. Somebody had to take the fall for everything that happened. I guess Jimmy is right where Chuck would have wanted him. I guess Jimmy is right where Chuck would have wanted him. He'll rot there until he dies. It's sad, but it's what he deserves. Yeah, I would say so. I'd say, yeah, he does deserve. I mean, he did do a lot of terrible things, accessory to murder, all the narco cases, accessory to methamphetamine manufacturing. He did all the sort of crimes he was absolutely guilty of them, and he went about those crimes with flying colors. And in many respects, it's true. He absolutely deserves to spend time in prison for his crimes. And again, at Suburban Catholic, I see the super chat as well. Thank you. So I'll get to that for sure. But yeah, at Nick Russ, man, it's just it's kind of weird. Again, I'm still fighting the good fight here. I'm just sort of juxtaposing this to Jesse Pinkman's story, where again, yes, absolutely, Saul did a lot of bad things and he deserves to be in prison for the rest of his life. But you know what? So does Jesse Pinkman. And it's kind of the weird dichotomy where Saul is basically narking on himself, saying, I don't feel bad about anything of what I did, and therefore I deserve to go to jail. But, Jesse feels bad for what he did. Jesse truly does see himself as a victim, despite the fact that he was very responsible for lots of his actions over the course of Breaking Bad. But, he, serves that sort of makeshift, sort of weird cosmic justice of being that sort of methamphetamine cooked slave for 6 months, and therefore he gets to live for the rest of his life, happily ever after. Again, I'm really sort of, again, I understand the sort of ending they gave to Saul, but again, when I think back to the ending of comparing it and juxtaposing it to the ending of Jesse Pinkman, I still don't fully understand, for any Family Guy fans out there, I still don't fully understand the sort of why Jesse, why he gets to live happily ever after, even though he committed first-degree murder, because he feels bad. And he's not, again, I made an entire live stream about that, sort of Jesse being, the responsibility of Jesse's own actions and things like that. But yes, absolutely, it's kind of weird. Again, I'm still, am I thinking about this wrong, where he's like, yes, I deserve to rot because I don't feel guilt for anything. I did all these bad things. But at the same time, I'm a bad person, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of weird logic for me. I'm still sort of grappling with it at Nick Russ. But again, really appreciate all the support you've given to this channel. Thank you so much. And Saul Goodman is not a good person. He's absolutely, not a great person. But you know what? Neither is Jesse Pinkman. And Jesse Pinkman is going to live, 50, 60 years the rest of his life, if he lives a nice, long, happy life. Gail Bedecker doesn't get to do that. Gail Bedecker, he's, he doesn't get to live that happily ever after in Alaska. So again, a lot of sort of mixed emotions here in respect to the sort of the way all these characters sort of end their story arcs in this series that has finally come to an end at Nick Russ. And thank you so much. Really appreciate all the support you've given to this channel. Thank you so much at Nick Russ. I see the super chat at Ryan Murphy, Patrick Murphy, excuse me. I'll get to that for sure. But at Suburban Catholic, he used his time machine to fix his regrets. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about the time machine storyline, kind of going back to the very beginning here, where it was all just about money for Saul Goodman there. And, it's a sort of an interesting dichotomy. That's a huge sort of sort of premise you're bringing up there for sure, in respect to the sort of the very beginning scene where they sort of had that sort of, you know, conversation about the time machine that he also has with Walter White later in this episode as well. And you know, I guess so. So again, you're kind of insinuating that Saul ended up using the time machine to fix all of his regrets of all the terrible things he did. Again, there's so much there. I feel like I could spend 2 hours on this whole like sort of time machine premise at Suburban Catholic, in respect to, you know, him just, you know, wanting to you know, initially with the conversation with Mike, he wanted to invest in Berkshire Hathaway when it first started so he could make tons and tons of money. And then at Mil M, I'll get to that super chat for sure. And you know, of course, with Walter White, he says the one regret he had was biffing it too hard with that slip and fall, where, you know, his knee was messed up, and you know, he was never right for the rest of his life. But of course, I guess you're saying in the end, he sort of atoned for all of the things. He used that sort of, you know, that time machine metaphor, if you will, to atone for, you know, all of his regrets. Again, kind of, you know, cryptic there in respect to what they were going for with that time machine. So, you know, again, I could ruminate on it forever and ever, but, you know, really appreciate all the support at Suburban Catholic. Thank you so much for the super chat. Add a Patrick Murphy. I'm sorry, I think I called you Ryan. I gave you a different sort of Irish-sounding name. I apologize for that. Very sort of, you know, I should my bad on that one. But basically, thank you so much for the support for the super chat. Basically, this ending was predicted in the first 3 episodes of the season with Nacho. Saw no point in hiding and basically made a deal with himself to die to save who he loved. Yeah, I mean, that you hit the nail on the head right there at Patrick Murphy. He really did. Again, I think you really hit the nail on the head there in respect to, you know, sort of saving Kim in the end. Yeah, for sure. You know, it's, again, a very sort of weird relationship there. Not, again, I keep using the word weird, but it's sort of, you know, very nuanced and complex relationship. You know, again, it was, you know, again, it's something that maybe, again, the relationship, as I've talked about in the past, I think could have stood the test of time, and it really could have, you know, given the right circumstances, they could have, you know, they were very compatible in many ways, but at the end of the day, at the same time, you know, Jimmy was sort of admitting that all the things they did were not, you know, the best. And again, yeah, sorry, a lot of, you know, I'll get to the super chats for sure. Again, just so many thoughts here for sure. But yeah, he definitely sort of, you know, again, very similar to Nacho for sure, where he sort of went out and sort of, you know, died, if you will, to sort of save Kim Wexler. And yeah, so, you know, quite the storyline there for sure. At Mil M, thank you so much for the super chat. Saul technically acquainted Walt with Gus. Technically, that's a reason for the downfall for everyone. Also, how could the DA prove anything with no witnesses left? I mean, I guess, again, it's kind of true, I suppose, where I guess he basically admitted to all of the charges. I guess if you're accused with all these things at Mil M, and you know, you're accused with these things and you confess to all of them, I guess that's, again, I'm no legal expert whatsoever at Mil M, but I guess that's kind of what they were going for there. And yeah, Saul was definitely the vessel by which Walt was connected with Gus. And yeah, you know, a lot of open-ended storylines for sure. Like I said, Gus wasn't even mentioned in this episode. And, you know, that scene in the wine bar was the very last scene that we saw of him at Mil M. And yeah, so again, so much to ruminate on here for sure. And I'm no legal expert. It's hard for me to sort of, you know, talk about the sort of legal jargon of all of this and the sort of, you know, actual sort of, you know, all of the legal things that were happening and whether or not those were, you know, realistic and based on reality as opposed to just various literary vessels that were used to drive the plot forward. But yeah, it's definitely some food for thought there for sure at Mil M, and thank you so much for the super chat. But yeah, at Patrick Murphy, you're definitely sort of, I love that analogy for sure in respect to the comparison between Nacho sort of sacrificing himself for someone he loved, like Jimmy did as well, as, you know, despite, you know, he wasn't with, you know, Kim for the last 6 years. I mean, as he said to her in the episode entitled Fun and Games, you know, you make me happy, I love you. And, you know, in a sort of, you know, very complex way, that absolutely was true. At Swift Shark, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for all of your discussions. I think that's supposed to say Better Call Saul discussion videos. I've enjoyed the ride and just wish it didn't have to end. Much continued success to you, Anton. That's very kind words of you at Swift Shark. Really appreciate the support. Yeah, you know, I'm not so sure what is in store for this channel moving forward, but it has been quite a ride. And again, I appreciate that you enjoy watching the videos. And yeah, you know, it's been fun discussing it for sure. Thank you so much at Swift Shark. Really appreciate all the support. At Richie MC, perfect ending. Saul on the plane puts a DB Cooper. I see. This is sort of the alternate ending you're sort of scripting here at Richie MC. Saul on the plane puts DB Cooper. Bill Oakley brings a parachute. What happens to the diamonds in the trash bin? Yeah, again, that's another great point at Richie MC. They never really displayed to us the sort of the genesis behind the diamonds. And the sort of again, there's so much open-ended aspects in the storyline. Again, I could go on for hours and hours and hours. Until the cows come home. I could talk about this for 24 hours straight. All of the open-ended aspects of the storyline at Richie MC. And yeah, I guess they probably collect the diamonds. And again, we don't even know where they came from. I've always insinuated that that he maybe. I like the theory that he exchanged all the money that he made with Walter White in the diamonds before as a sort of insurance policy, and he sort of got the premonition of that by oh my goodness. I will get to that for sure at Relax and Sleep. Thank you so much for that super chat, man. Really appreciate that support. My goodness, thank you so much. Yeah, again, I always assume that he just transferred his money to a much more portable means of transportation after he remembered back to the episode entitled Bagman when he had to carry those $7 million in those duffel bags around the desert, and carrying all that cash is really, really difficult. And I think one bill weighs a gram, and I think if you multiply that out, those bags, including the weight of the bags, is over 155 pounds. So diamonds, that's probably millions of dollars of diamonds that he had in that tin. But yeah, who knows what becomes of the diamonds? I guess it's up for fans to interpret for sure at Richie MC. And like I said, thank you so much for all the support you're giving to this channel. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Wow, again, I relax and sleep. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate all the support, man. My goodness gracious, thank you so much. In the end, Saul got exactly what he deserved. Saul finally found his regrets and manned up. Running his deal was the most stand-up thing he ever did. Ruining his deal was the most stand-up thing he ever did. You have the best Better Call Saul analysis channel. Appreciate and enjoyed the post-episode live streams. Thank you, Anton. You're far too kind with your kind words there for sure. And yeah, again, he absolutely manned up there. And again, he ruined his deal. Again, it was crazy. Again, he used his superpowers of just being able to just spin his he's just an unbelievable talker, as Tuco Salamanca said to him in the episode entitled Mijo. Wow, you got a mouth on you. It's his superpower, his ability to be able to talk his way out of all these circumstances. And again, I stood up out of my seat when I saw that scene. I did not see that scene coming whatsoever of him painting himself as the victim. Unbelievable twist there for sure. And I definitely thought he was going to sort of get away with it in the end. And he was going to sort of, talk his way out of it. And they were going to sort of paint him as this sort of evil villain character. But it's weird. They sort of paint him as this sort of, very complex, I don't even know really. I mean, it's weird. It's like I said, I'm just the sort of mentality where I think he's true when he's saying I have no regrets, or again, is he lying sort of to get Kim off scot-free so she's not culpable for all the things she did? But at the same time, she probably deserves some prison sentence as well for all the things she did. I mean, all of the fraud she committed. I mean, who even knows? I mean, again, who knows if they sort of used, they stole Howard Hamlin's car keys. They committed a fraud. They sort of, I feel like they bared false witness against, Howard. Maybe you could even charge them with accessory to murder. Like I said, I've heard stories where getaway car drivers have been charged with accessory to murder, even if they don't pull the trigger. So again, it's sort of weird where, like people like Jesse and Kim, they sort of got off scot-free, if you will. I mean, the sort of penance they have is like, if you feel bad for what you did, then that's sort of your sort of sentence alone, your emotional distress. But again, I don't know about that, because I think they're all, like, it's weird because, people like Saul, who's, claims to not feel bad about what he did, at Andrew Kaliadin, I'll get to that for sure, and at Kid Valentine, I'll get to that for sure. But, it's kind of weird, Jesse and Kim feel bad for all the things they did, so therefore they don't really have to serve like a long prison sentence. But at the same time, I feel like there are people in prison who feel very, very bad for what they did and really regret it, but that doesn't mean they get to come out of prison. So again, a little bit sort of racking my brain there in respect to just the way they sort of paint all these characters and sort of how the actions of the characters sort of justify their ultimate endings at Relax and Sleep. But At Andrew Kaliadin, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Great ending. I love that Jimmy came back. I truly enjoyed watching your videos over the last few years. Hopefully we haven't seen the last of you. You're very, very kind at Andrew Kaliadin. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. But yeah, I mean, like I said, yeah, Jimmy definitely came back. He did. He went by Jimmy McGill. And, definitely feel like, again, he was very like, yes, I was a bad person. He's almost like, it was weird. He was almost kind of like whistling as he worked when he was working in the kitchen cafeteria, sort of, I'm paying my pittance here. I deserve this. But, yeah, again, for sure, again, I'm still sort of, grappling with all of this for sure. But yeah, really appreciate all of the support you've given to this channel. Even just watching the videos, really appreciate that support. That's really awesome. And yeah, not sure what's to come on this channel for sure, but we will see at Andrew Kaliadin. That is for sure. But thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate all the support. Thank you so much. At Kate Valentine, thank you so much. Anton, it is my son Eddie who donated all the support, LOL, and you did the $50 tonight. We so appreciate you. Wow, that's very, I mean, if you two are related, that's really, really kind. Thank you so much. You're far too kind at Kate Valentine and at Eddie if you guys are related. I did not know that. So, cool. Thank you so much for all the support you've given to this channel, both of you. Thank you so much. Like I said, I'm kind of taken aback by all the support that this channel has received. Definitely, not something I expected when I, I'm even just, I'm kind of taken aback by how many people enjoy, watching my videos, to tell you the truth. But yeah, at Kate Valentine, at Eddie, that's true. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate all the support. Ooh, but yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, so much here to talk about. I mean, this episode was so long, an hour and almost 15 minutes long of actual, sort of content here to go over. At Relax and Sleep, yes, I think Jimmy was actually more at peace and more at home in the big house than he ever was in society. That is true at Relax and Sleep. That is absolutely true. I mean, when we were going back in the episode entitled, I believe, Waterworks, when he was just going about the motions of doing, working at Cinnabon, he could not continue in that manner, Relax and Sleep. He was definitely sort of dead there, and he did sort of feel more at home in the prison. Absolutely for sure. He definitely, he had more of a spring in his step. It's sort of, this is where I belong. I'm sort of the, I truly am the criminal lawyer, as Jesse Pinkman said. But, that's a great point for sure. I really sort of agree with that. But yeah, again, yeah, as people are saying, I mean, I sort of, if a trial sort of came, I know a lot of people pointed out that it made a lot of sense for Maurice Schrader to sort of come back into the fold here, in respect to, seeing really the only man that's left responsible to sort of put on trial for all the who being a sort of accessory to Hank Schrader's murder that we saw, of course, in the episode entitled Ozymandias in season 5 of Breaking Bad. But again, I mean, at Relax and Sleep, and, I totally agree that, Saul sort of, manned up and faced what he did. But again, does Jesse Pinkman need to man up? I know I'm still fighting the good fight here. I know I talked about the El Camino movie a few days ago, and again, it's like Jesse Pinkman deserves to be in there with Saul Goodman just the same, no matter what you say. I mean, I'm sorry, he did all the same things. That he was not only an accessory to murder, he literally committed first-degree premeditated murder of Gail Bedecker. He manufactured methamphetamine, and I talked about it ad nauseum in that live stream. He had so many opportunities to get out. He did. There were so many chances for him to stop and quit while he was ahead. After the death of Jane, he could have, done something else. So many opportunities. But again, and it's like, does he need to atone for his crimes? Is there sort of him feeling sorry for himself and smoking methamphetamine in his house? That's sort of him atoning. Again, maybe I'm totally missing something in respect to Jesse Pinkman and Saul being sort of different people, and sort of, and even what sort of Walter White said to Saul Goodman, how, you were always like this, sort of, you were doing these slip and falls even when you were very, very young, and, kind of insinuating I broke bad when I was 50. So, kind of almost, maybe in just saying, you're even worse than me, sort of, maybe sort of ribbing Saul Goodman there a little bit. But again, I am still sort of scratching my head in respect to why Jesse Pinkman gets a free pass. I really am. I mean, maybe I'm totally missing something here, but again, it's just sort of my opinion on all of this. But yeah, absolutely, at Relax and Sleep, you were absolutely right. In many respects, Saul manned up, and he paid, it was time for him to sort of pay his dues for everything he did. And, despite the fact he could have gotten out for 7 years, minimized his sentence for 7 years, he still decided to, take that full sentence because he deserved it. But I don't know. I wonder if Jesse feels like he deserves to go to prison for all the things he did. I'm not so sure. Again, I could talk about that for 24 hours straight and then talk about it for another 24 hours. And I don't even know if we'll ever come to an answer on all of that. But again, I'm still fighting the good fight in respect to that. But at Just Dan, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate all the support. I like how the only color in this episode in regards to the black and white scenes was Kim's lighter at the end. It's been a wild ride. Thank you, Anton. Yeah, the scenes definitely did the Gene Takovic timeline. It didn't go back into full color ever at Just Dan. And again, I think the metaphor, of course, I've talked about this in past live streams, is just all of the color and all of the vibrance and all of the life being stripped out of characters like, the Breaking Bad characters who appeared in the Gene Takovic timeline. Francesca, all of the, what little color was left in her life was all stripped away. Kim, Jimmy, Gene, Saul, Marie coming back. So yeah, absolutely. And again, it was just the sort of flicker of the lighter in this episode. Again, I think I may have even missed that. I'll have to go back and sort of double take another look at that for sure. But I think you're right there. And also the sort of reflections into Jimmy's lenses when he's watching the Saul Goodman commercials. Again, the sort of the once colorful, vibrant time in his life at Just Dan. So yeah. For sure. And again, really, thank you for watching the videos. I really appreciate it at Just Dan. Thank you so much for all of the support that you've given to this channel. Really appreciate all the support. Ooh, my goodness. But yeah, so again, the scene again, it sort of go on the time machine sort of premise here in this scene. Kind of interesting here where of course Mike wants to sort of, right his wrongs of, again, sort of never taking that bribe. And if he sort of never takes that bribe, he's insinuating that my son Matty would have never been a sort of crooked cop either, and he would have still been alive. And in terms of continuity in returns of this scene here, of course, this was like a new thing we had never seen before in respect to them stumbling upon this big vat of water. I actually wondered if this was a mirage or something to that effect. But again, we see Saul fill up his water bottle here with water. So I guess this scene must have taken place after they called sort of Kim to say that they were back in civilization, because it's actually quite interesting, because if we remember during that montage scene in the cold opening scene of the episode entitled Bad Choice Road, Jimmy absolutely had urine in his water bottle. So here he filled it up with water when they stumbled upon this well. So I was kind of curious about the continuity of this. So this must have taken place after he got service and called Kim to tell him he was okay, and then they had to walk a little bit further, I suppose, and then they finally stumbled upon this well. Again, I'm a little bit confused about the continuity of this. Was this a mirage? Did this actually happen? Because at Francis Ray, he had lemonade. Because again, I went back and looked at that during the commercial break in respect to he just ran out of water and had to pee in it again. Because yeah, I'm a little bit confused about the continuity here in respect to this scene. Again, it was a very emotional scene here, and maybe it wouldn't make sense for them to be able to have this conversation if they didn't stumble on this water and they were able to, maybe hydrate and have this conversation. They would have been so just disorientated by their dehydration that they couldn't have this sort of lighthearted, cordial conversation about the time machine, and where, Mike wants to right his wrongs so his son Matty never dies. Essentially, that's kind of what he's going for there, where he would go back to when he took his first bribe, but he could have ran out and peed in it again. Again, we don't know exactly how far they had to walk after he regained service and called Kim when they finally got to that stop. So, again, just food for thought in respect to this scene. Again, definitely sort of foreshadowing here what was to come. The only scene we got to see of Mike Ehrmantraut in this series finale. And the last scene we see of Mike Ehrmantraut is him talking to Manuel Varga, and I talked about that in a little bit in a past live stream. But it's kind of interesting there, where again, very sort of emotional there, where he says these overtures to Manuel Varga, and he at stomach bug, that's funny. He says they'll get their the revenge will happen, but you gangsters and your revenge, the overtures were absolutely rejected. So again, it's like almost as if Mike did more, bad than good there, it seems. I mean, he wanted to give Manuel closure in respect to telling him that Nacho was dead. But yeah, I can't. I feel like I have to rack my brain so much, and there's no right answer to any of this. I feel like it's all just sort of, it's almost like philosophy and like existential questions here. There's no right and wrong answer. We could literally just pontificate over and over and over again in respect to, what is going on here, in respect to what the creators are trying to display to us. But yeah, so very interesting flashback scene here for sure. And again, before I get to that, at Smokeless Choice, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. You say disappointing finale. I usually watch season 6 episodes several times after their premiere, but this one, no, the finale was good but not great. Again, I mean, you're definitely entitled to your own opinion. I mean, I don't know how you feel, but when Saul gave that speech where he painted himself as a victim, I couldn't believe it. I absolutely loved that scene. That might have been one of my favorite scenes of this entire series, when I did not see that coming whatsoever, where he painted himself as a victim. But yeah, I mean, are you sort of just saying you're not really a fan of him sort of going against that plea deal and basically sort of taking the L here and saying I'm a bad person, I deserve to go to prison for the rest of my life? Again, I think in a sort of vacuum that's fine, but again, I don't understand why Jesse gets a pass. I don't understand why Jesse gets a pass. I really do not. And again, like, El Camino is El Camino, but at Timothy Coombs, well, I did see there were some issues on AMC Plus in respect to watching the finale in the very beginning. I did see a lot of people were upset. I think the site was overloaded and they could not handle the bandwidth. But yeah, that's not ideal on the biggest day of the site's existence for sure. But it's yeah, that's kind of funny. But at Will K, I mean, I thought that twist right there, I thought that was an unbelievable twist in respect to him painting himself as a victim. I did not see that coming. I really had high hopes when I saw that. At Dylan 2 times, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Such a lovely tragic ending. Jimmy seems happier in prison than being Gene. I hope you continue to make content, Anton. Really appreciate the support there at Dylan 2 times. And yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head there. I think, a lot of people are saying that as well in respect to, yes, he did seem much more at home in prison. He really did. I mean, we saw him sort of going through the motions in the episode entitled, it was actually the episode entitled Breaking Bad. It was Breaking Bad. I think I misspoke earlier and said Waterworks. But in that scene in Breaking Bad, after he's pulling those scams and he's going back to the Cinnabon and just watching the sort of dough machine going round and round and round, he's already dead inside. So, he just, he just couldn't go about living that life. But again, I was wondering in respect to sort of painting Saul as this sort of evil genius, you wonder, would he have sort of, saved himself and then, did his 7 years in prison and then ended up on some sort of, private island somewhere, living it up after he paid his time. So sort of painting him as an evil villain. Now, I mean, I don't really know what they were trying to go for here in respect to, yes, I'm a terrible person. Yes, I don't regret anything I did, and I should go to prison for the rest of my life. I mean, and like I said, I talked about this a little bit in my review of El Camino. I mean, are we just supposed to assume that Jesse Pinkman, goes on his fairy merry way and lives happily ever after in Alaska, and he never gets made and he never ends up in prison? Because if he ever gets arrested, he's going to be sitting across that table from the feds as well. And yes, he could paint himself as a victim as well. But again, if Jesse Pinkman was saying all those things, I think he would truly believe himself and say, yes, I'm a victim. I'm the victim here. Walter White manipulated me. Despite the fact that, if we go back and look at his actions over the course of Breaking Bad, he had so many opportunities to get out and he kept coming back. He kept coming back. And again, at some point, as Mike Ehrmantraut said, we all make our choices. And again, there were so many opportunities for Jesse to get out where he just kept going back. And, by the time he had all this guilt, it was way too late. And so, yeah, I mean, El Camino, man, El Camino. It's just that sort of thorn in my side a little bit in respect to this universe. But it is what it is, It's the way the creators wanted to paint his story. And, it is what it is, so... No, at Nick Marizano, no, he screwed himself and he got the full, 86 years and, he went out against his plea deal. So, it was yeah, he did. So at Ronald Nash Jr., thank you so much for the this is a super chat. Really appreciate all the support. Hope you make a full video on each character's time machine. Jimmy's was Chuck. He created his own to go back and stick it to the legal system one more time. He make peace with the woman he loves and prove to Chuck he was capable of change. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what the creators were going for at Ronald Nash Jr., where he he had to pay his penance and sort of prove to Chuck that he would do the right thing by going to prison. I guess that's sort of what they're alluding to there. That was his time machine. Waltz was, of course, the whole gray matter storyline that we saw. Again, he sort of told the entire story in season 5 of Breaking Bad, in the episode entitled "Buyout." Where he said he took a buyout for his company for $5,000 and now it's worth billions. It's on the public exchange. It's a publicly traded company, and that's what he would go back and do again. Great scene there where Saul said we should have done something with this. We could have sued. And yeah, you just wonder why Walt could have done that as well. He could have sued as well, but he never did. He sort of just went about his life. And again, the whole Deus Ex Machina thing in the episode entitled "Gray Matter" when he meets with Elliot and Elliot offers to pay for his entire treatment. But of course, it's not about the money for Walt. It's about the pride, and it's about doing it for me. I was alive. I was good at it. It was never about the money for Walt. It really never was. I feel like that's why he never sued Gray Matter for everything. And it was more just about the pride of it and having a sort of reason for being, building this company and doing things. It's never really about the money for these people. And even with the meth empire, it was about the money, but it wasn't just about the money, if you sort of get what I'm saying there at Ronald Nash Jr. And sort of, yeah, so you're saying all the characters, if we had a sort of time machine. But again, that's sort of a weird, and at Lost, I'll get to that super chat for sure, I see it. But again, it's sort of, again, it's as Walt was saying, talking about we all have our regrets. And we all wish we could go back in time and change things. But as Mike said in the sort of Bad Choice Road speech, nothing can be done about that. We all make our choices, and those choices put us on a road. Sometimes you think about getting off, but eventually you're back on the road. And everything we did, in the desert, led us to right now, like basically right back to where we are right now. And again, the money shot here, nothing can be done about that. We cannot change the past. And we have to be responsible for our actions at Ronald Nash Jr. Nothing can be done about that. Even as Gus Fring said, it's kind of ironic too when Gus Fring met with Mike and offered him the job for the first time in season 3 of A Better Call Saul, where he said, after the Good Samaritan died, he said, "You're trying to correct a mistake that cannot be corrected." But the sort of grand irony in all of that is that ended up being Gus Fring's downfall, because he was trying to correct the mistake that could not be sort of, corrected in respect to the death of Max Arciniega. So, yeah, it's just, we all want to, we all have regrets. There's all things we wish we could go back in time and change. But again, as Mike said, we can't change these things. And, I don't know. I guess, yeah, it was sort of an interesting analogy here where, we want to try to, right the wrong. It's weird because even as Mike said to Jesse in El Camino, Jesse said, going to Alaska to set things right. And Mike said, no, kid, that's the one thing you can't do. You can never set things right. But here we're sort of trying to set things right. Again, I'm a little bit sort of, maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe there is sort of some grand nuance that I'm missing here in respect to all of this. But like I said, I will have the rest of my life to think about this ending. And like I said, there'll be plenty of time to ruminate on this at Ronald Nash Jr. And thank you again for all of the support you've given to this channel. Really appreciate all of the support at Ronald Nash Jr. Thank you so much. At Lost, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Kim's speech was to show she upholds the law like Chuck. Kim finally gave him the respect he wanted. It gave Jimmy the second chance in Kim's mind. Where, again, so are you basically saying, so Kim gave Jimmy the respect he wanted? He gave Jimmy the second chance, and it gave Jimmy the second chance in Kim's mind? Are you talking about Kim's speech in the in the teaser that we never saw about "I, Kim Wexler, do solemnly swear"? Again, I'm a little bit confused in what you're exactly getting at there in respect to her speech in the teaser. She upholds the law like Chuck. I mean, she tried to. She definitely didn't. When she was scamming Howard Hamlin, she absolutely did not. She didn't do that. I mean, she regrets doing it, but she didn't do it. And so the speech was saying, I mean, I feel like that's the oath that everyone takes when they become a lawyer at Lost. And Kim finally gave him, I think you're referring to Jimmy, the respect he wanted. It gave Jimmy the second chance in Kim's mind. Again, I'm not too sure what you're getting at Lost. I'm kind of getting it a little bit, but again, Kim's character also is another one where again she did all these terrible things as well. And again, the sort of trope that I'm sort of seeing the writers display to us is if you feel really bad and sort of feel sorry for yourself and cry, and kind of like Jesse and Kim did, then sort of you don't have to be responsible for your actions because, again, I know they, in many respects, they both sort of, repented in their own ways, where Kim, lived this very milquetoast, boring life in Florida, and Jesse was the meth cook slave for 6 months, but I don't know. I don't know how to feel about all this, so... Again, I'm a little bit. Again, I'm kind of at a loss for words. I'm still ruminating on all of this, and who knows? My opinions on this may change tomorrow. There'll be so much time to think about all of this at Lost. So yeah, again, if you would clarify that a little bit in respect to Kim gave him. I mean, are you talking about Jimmy? Him the respect he wanted. It gave Jimmy the second chance in Kim's mind when she became a lawyer again. Again, I'm a little bit confused in all that. But if you clarify that at Lost, I'd be happy to speak on that for sure. At Tate Holman, thank you so much for the super chat. You're the best, Anton. Thank you for everything. You are far too kind, at Tate Holman. Your words are far too kind. I'm taken aback by how kind your words are. But thank you so much for the super chat at Tate Holman. Yeah, at Lewis A9, you're right. There wasn't a final song. There was no final song to end the series like there was with Breaking Bad. So yeah, for sure, not the sort of parallel there in respect to the ending. So, at Francis Ray, I mean, yeah, he's probably not doing. Again, another grand irony in all of that is he sort of takes the full 86, and that's even more than the initial plea deal when initially they're reading off all the charges in respect to everything that Saul is, allegedly charged with accessory to murder, accessory to sort of the distribution of methamphetamine, and they offered him a plea deal of 30 years. And so he'll be, 80 years old theoretically if and again, maybe he doesn't serve the full time in prison. I think you have to serve a minimum of 80% of your term before you're eligible for parole. But 86 years, I mean, again, I think you have to serve. I think federal prison, you have to serve a minimum of 80% your term if I'm not mistaken before you can get parole. I think that's at Relax and Sleep. Jimmy 86'd his deal and got 86. I think you are onto something there for sure. But yeah, I'm pretty sure in federal prison, which he's going to, you have to serve 80% before you get paroled. So again, quick math off the top of my head. What's 80% of isn't that like 65 years? Over 65 years. So he'll be 115 before he can get out. So yeah, I'm not so sure about that. So yeah, I mean he's gonna die in prison. So at least the way they sort of wrote the story. At Campbell Cronin, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. What do you think about Kim not finger gunning Jimmy back at the end? Yeah, again, it's that was sort of an interesting sort of premise there, where so yeah, I mean, unless he lives to be 118.8 years at Relax and Sleep, he's dying in prison. But yeah, so going back to the sort of finger gun scene that we saw in season 5 of Better Call Saul in the episode entitled Something Unforgivable, where of course Jimmy says to Kim, you wouldn't be able to live with the consequences, and she says, won't I, and she does the thing, Kim, or you're shitting me, right? And then of course she does the finger gun. But the grand irony in all of that is that she was not ready to live with all the consequences, and Saul kind of was. So I guess they're kind of painting it as that like Saul is a type of person who can live with what he did, and he's willing to serve all of his time in prison. But, Kim really wasn't. She clearly didn't really know what she was getting into. So again, I mean, like I said, I want to listen to the Insider podcast, but I feel like, again, they talk about the story for they start to get into it sometimes, and I'm so immersed, but then, of course, they go off on these, tangents in respect to all the other things, which are important, like the sort of all the other aspects of television production. But I mean, my goodness, I'm so immersed in the story and the writing. I want to know the thinking behind the creators. But we'll see. We'll see what they have to say in the Insider podcast. At Dylan 2 times, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate all the support that you've given to this channel. Did you notice the cigarette tip Kim and Jimmy shared in the end was in color? Yes, in hindsight, yeah, I think it was the cigarette tip. Yes. I do. That does. I do recall that in my memory now that you mentioned it. And someone else also mentioned the lighter as well. I love that the final scene mimics their first scene. Yep, absolutely. It mimics the first scene in the HHM parking lot in the garage in the episode entitled Uno, What a Legendary Show. Yes, absolutely. When Jimmy goes into the HHM conference room for the first time, and of course, when he's trying to get, Howard to buy Chuck out of the firm, and of course, the final, again, when, again, I don't want to get into every specific detail, but of course he says you will atone at the end when Howard basically says he's not going to cash him out, where these aren't Chuck's wishes. Jimmy sort of threatens litigation and then eventually goes back to Chuck's house to sort of say you need to cash out, but of course he doesn't. But of course they sort of, yes, they share the cigarette in the sort of garage of the HHM parking lot. And yeah, that scene, I mean, I think the same music was playing as well, if I'm not mistaken, the exact same sort of music. Again, it was more just like I don't even know the title of it. I think it was a piece of music written specifically for that scene, but I did remember it was the exact same scene for sure. So, yeah, for sure. Legendary show for sure. I mean, one of my favorite shows of all time. I mean, clearly, I think it's pretty obvious based on how many times I've seen it. But yeah, so. Oh, at Richie MC, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate. I missed that. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. I like the emoji there at Richie MC. Thank you so much. I do like that emoji. That might be one of my favorite emojis at Richie MC. Thank you so much. But yeah, dead on in respect. The music was the same as well, and yes, the cigarette tip was in color. I did notice that. But again, it was almost like it almost skipped my mind there because I was just so immersed in just watching the show that again it was so subtle the ending in respect to that lit cigarette tip. So yeah, definitely intentional for sure. Yeah, I'm reading some of the comments here. Yeah, Jeff is in jail. I mean, who knows? I mean, if Jeff tried to take a plea, but it's kind of tough when Saul basically narcs on himself completely. So, I mean, is Jeff going to jail to prison for identity fraud? I mean, grand scale identity fraud. I mean, he's going to prison too. I mean, as Saul said, nothing he didn't ask for. So it's sort of weird. Again, I don't know. Yeah, he did go to prison as James McGill, but again, it's yeah, I mean, Kim and Jesse, they happily ever after. We get to atone for our crimes and our sins in our own way. We don't really have to go by the exact definitions of the legal system. Yes, we were all corrupted, but we atone in our own way. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about all this, but yeah, it's it's the way they. So I mean, I have to ruminate on this a lot more before I have a sort of final thought on all this. And like I said, my opinions will likely change as I rewatch this show and kind of go back and sort of just like I said, ruminate on what the creators were going for here. So. But yeah, again, like I said, I loved when there's a scene here again, quite the shock. I think a lot of people were shocked in the very beginning when Gene was caught so quickly. It definitely sort of foreshadowed how, okay, he's getting arrested, he's going to prison. And of course, I think, yes, he's going to prison, of course. He's dead to rights guilty, Great scene here where he says, again, you see the writing on the wall. It says something about, oh my goodness, it's skipping my mind here, the expression that he saw on the wall. I think I may be able to find it, but of course it made him laugh. And of course, when he saw that expression on the wall, it made him think of Bill Oakley. And of course, it foreshadowed Bill Oakley appearing. Again, let me I can see if I can find the exact. Yeah, here we go. My lawyer will ream your ass. This, of course, made him think of Bill Oakley, and then he's sort of breaking down in this sort of very akin to the crawl space scene with Walter White when he's sort of breaking down in almost a Joker-esque laugh. So, at Richie MC, the cigarette is laced with ricin, with Jesse still out there. A boy in the desert family never gets closure. Wait a minute. The cigarette is laced with ricin, with Jesse still out there. The boy in the desert's family never gets closure. Again, I don't think the cigarette is laced with ricin because if I'm not mistaken, Walt took the ricin cigarette and that ricin ended up being used on Lydia Redart Quayle, the same ricin that Walt took from Jesse's cigarette. So I don't think that was the case for sure. But in respect to, Drew Sharp, he never got closure. That's true. Drew Sharp's family did get closure. But again, Jesse being, Batman or whoever gave them the vigilante justice they'll never get in respect to strangulating Todd Alquist to death. And, again, it's like Jesse Pinkman with the unintended consequences. This is like maybe he justified the whole train heist thing in Dead Freight, saying, oh, this is a victimless crime. We'll just steal this 1,000 gallons of methylamine from this big corporation. Victimless crime. They get watered down methylamine. We get to create methamphetamine and give it to the Albuquerque community. Victimless crime. And, of course, the death of Drew Sharp is the unintended consequence. And, yeah, he writes that letter to Brock at the end of El Camino, and again, I talked about that in my previous stream as well, the sort of irony in all of that, and again, I could maybe rehash that again, I'm not so sure if I want to, but yeah, I just don't get it. I just don't get the infatuation with Jesse Pinkman. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe people don't actually feel that way at Richie MC, but I don't know. The soft spot that the Breaking Bad universe, the writers included, have for Jesse Pinkman, I just don't understand it. At Johnny 5 Stacks, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate the support. Jimmy didn't set things right, but rather he found his humanity and he faced the fact that he was a bad person who hurt people and took responsibility. Absolutely, you're absolutely right. You're dead on there in respect to that. In respect to that analysis, you're absolutely right. Where I admit that I'm a bad person and I should deserve to go to jail. But again, you're absolutely right. But again, I know I'm like a broken record here, and maybe you're almost getting it's getting redundant here. Maybe you want to hear me talk about something else. But in respect to Jesse Pinkman, Jesse thinks he's the victim. When Saul was saying to everyone, "I'm the victim," it was so great because we knew it wasn't true. We knew he was an opportunist, as he said at the end of this episode. But the grand irony that I will never. I'm sort of I'm sort of showing my hand here, but I just don't know what words can be there. Like as Walter White said, there must be a sort of set of words that can be said in a certain way. I think he said this in Fly, that can explain all of this. I just have to sort of find it, but I'm trying to find at Johnny 5 Stacks, Jesse Pinkman, the point I'm getting at here is, there must be a way where someone can convince me otherwise, but Jesse truly sees himself as the victim. He really does. I'm a victim here. A poor Jesse Pinkman. It wasn't my fault that I had to shoot Gale in the face. It wasn't my fault that I kept going back again and again and again to manufacture methamphetamine with Walter White's. Badger wanted to work that menial job spitting that sign, but not me. I'm too good for that. I have this great skill of manufacturing methamphetamine. Despite the fact that I could have gotten out so many times. I talked about it in my live stream. And if he was set across that table, again, as sort of Ed the Disappearer said when he was playing on his heartstrings when he was $1,800 short to use his services in El Camino, he says, you think you can sort of, pull on people's heartstrings and manipulate your emotions, I suggest you try with the police, saying you made your own luck. So, again, yeah, if Jesse sort of was saying that to the feds where I was, he absolutely would have believed it, in my opinion, that he was a victim. And everything that he went through, he sort of atoned in more. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of people at that prison would, maybe I'm trudging into a minefield here, but I really feel like a lot of people in that prison at Johnny 5 Stacks would, if they were told, hey, you can be a meth cook slave, and yes, you'll be absolutely abused, and, you'll be emotionally and physically abused, but in 6 months, then you'll be a free man. I don't know. Maybe they would take that instead of spending 70 years in a prison. I'm not so sure. I can't speak for them. Maybe I'm off base, but again, just food for thought at Johnny 5 Stacks. And again, it's how I feel. Again, maybe I'm missing something, but that's just kind of how I feel about Jesse Pinkman. Maybe I'm being too cynical. I don't know. But at Nick Russ, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate the support. Jimmy may seem content now, but he's really going to regret not taking that 7-year deal in a few months from now. He's going to be so bored for the rest of his life, as most people in prison are. It's a very complicated issue. I can't speak to, it's not great. Federal prison is not a great place from what I've heard, and it's quite and he's not in federal minimum either, like FPS Kyle was in. If anyone's listened to the sort of PKA podcast, I listened to that after the sort of FPS Russia, for any fans out there, sort of explaining his time in a federal minimum prison. But yeah, Jimmy is he's in federal max. And again, I'm not sure. Again, they called the Colorado the Rockies. I don't know if is it ADX Montrose. I don't know if that's an actual prison or if that's sort of they're trying to say it's basically ADX Florence, which is the Supermax in Colorado that actually exists. If they were sort of talking about that, I'm not so sure. But I think there's a sort of Supermax wing of that, and there's also a regular wing. If I could be totally off base here. I'm not too well versed in the federal prison system, but yeah, they house some hardcore prisoners in there, like like not great people. So yeah, again, talk about a few months. Again, talk about the irony when 7 years goes by and he thinks I could have gotten out of here. And I did this to save Kim. I mean, I don't even know how long Kim would have gone to prison for. I mean, yes, they could have ruined her life in respect to Cheryl taking everything she had in perpetuity, as Bill Oakley said to him on the airplane. Another great scene for sure. But yeah, just I don't know. A lot of thoughts I have, a lot of thoughts, and yeah, I think definitely the irony in 7 years. When 7 years goes by, and it's true. And I think in a federal minimum, I think after 80%, you can get out for good behavior. So I really think in like 5.5 years, he could have gotten out of prison when he was 55.5 years old. So yeah, talk about the irony there. Again, I mean, like a lot of people are saying, where he probably did deserve to go there, and he's thinking, I will be a good person by going to prison. I'm admitting that I was a bad person and I deserve to go here. I'm kind of being like Manuel Varga. I'm facing what I did, but yeah, just kind of weird. It's just like, I don't know. It's like, it's weird. It's like it's the sort of the criminal who like will do bad things, but it's kind of like, if I'm ever caught, I'm gonna go to prison. I'm not gonna sort of try to finagle my way out of this. But at the same time, isn't Kim sort of getting off scot-free in the end? Doesn't she deserve to go to prison for a little bit? But she kind of gets out of it all. So yeah, I'm just a little bit sort of again, I'm racking my brain here. I think we're allowed to have this sort of open sort of conversation about all this. And again, I'm sort of like I said, I have a lot of thoughts on all this. So really appreciate the super chat at Nick Russ. Thank you so much for the support. So all right, David Worski, I'll take your word for it. Again, I'm not sure if that's a real prisoner, if that's a sort of play on ADX Florence, which is like the actual federal supermax. So yeah, John Doman. I mean, it's like, again, like what was so in character of Saul was when he painted himself as a victim and we knew he was lying. When he literally, in very Saul Goodman-esque fashion, saying, you know what, I'm basically going to only go to prison for maybe 5.5 years with good behavior and parole. That's the most Saul Goodman in character. But it's yeah, I'm a little bit, yeah, I'm still sort of thinking about it, how he was a bad person, but he admitted he was bad, and he says, yes, I should deserve to go to jail. So ooh, but yeah, like I said, this scene here when he sort of thinks about now defense attorney Oakley, and he calls Oakley saying, where do like basically the great conversation he has on the phone, where basically saying, you are dead to rights guilty. How in the world do you think this ends to you? You are dead to rights. They have so much evidence on you. And of course it says, with me coming out on top. And of course I'm like, oh man, what is Saul working out here? Saul Goodman fashion, he's gonna get out of this. And of course, great. Again, I really did like this Marie scene. I really did. In respect to, it made a lot of sense that she would be there because, this is someone they wanted to prosecute for the, accessory to the murder of Hank Schrader. And, basically saying, offering him a plea deal right here of 30 years and basically saying, this is our plea deal. We can, keep this at a sort of a minimum here. I guess maybe not wanting to go to trial and turn into a circus maybe. I know, the feds, they like to, not go to trial if they can and sort of plead things out. At least I think. I'm not an expert in all this at all. But of course, Jimmy then finagles his way into saying, I'm a victim too, just like you, Marie. I am a victim. And that, again, I totally did not see that coming when he said, it's so true. I mean, he's sort of spinning his own version of the truth when he's saying, yes, Walter White came to me under false pretenses as Mr. Mayhew and then kidnapped me and put a gun to my head and put in front of a grave in the desert. All of that is true. But of course, as we know from the flashback scene that took place in the plot of Breaking Bad in season 6, that we know that right there in the moment, of course, he saw opportunity, as he eventually said about himself at the end of this episode. But yeah, that was just unbelievable of a twist when I did not see that coming whatsoever. And I really thought, Saul would sort of get away with it all. And I really thought they were going to sort of paint him as this sort of, bad person. But, it's, again, it's weird. They sort of paint him as like the good bad guy. And, of course, he gets this plea deal. He's almost, toying with them a little bit, even getting, ice cream as a mandatory component of his plea deal. What was it? Once a week, the Bluebell chocolate chip ice cream. just very Saul Goodman-esque fashion to the nth degree here. The plea deal, just unbelievable. Then, of course, great scene here where he also, to even try to get even more time off of his deal, where he's getting, only 7 years when he deserves probably, mandatory life plus 90. So basically a life sentence where he's never getting out of prison. But of course, he also tries to give information surrounding the death of Howard Hamlin. But of course, they kind of laugh at his face because they already know what happened. Kim Wexler already gave them all the information. They already know that this wasn't a suicide. They know that it was a murder. So Saul can't, sell even more here. And of course, Saul's a little bit taken aback by this, how Kim, gave her affidavit to the sort of the district attorney and sort of, turned herself in. And, basically saying you must not be on very good speaking terms with your ex. And so, yeah, that sort of ends the negotiations there. And, of course, that sort of gets the wheels turning in Saul's head. And then, of course, we get this a great flashback scene here to Walter White. And it's actually pretty funny. Yesterday, in my live stream preview, I think the user, again, the very unique name, ADHD Whiskey, kind of insinuated that maybe the writers would say, the Gene timeline was all a dream and that Saul would wake up in the Ed Disappears basement and, all of the Gene timeline would have been a dream. And he was actually like, his prediction was halfway there, but of course in the end that was absolutely not true. But we see the flashback scene of Walter White here in the bald cap, but of course the low lighting here, the dark lighting, minimized the sort of, the visual sort of, I wouldn't even say error in continuity, but just sort of the stark visual contrast to how Walt would have looked. And again, I didn't really notice. I mean, you could tell a little bit, but it was kind of hard to tell based on the lighting in this scene. And yeah, great conversation here where, again, we see the time machine, a conversation again like he had with Mike at the very beginning of this episode. And of course, Walt sort of reading through, all of this and saying, there is no time machine. You're talking about regret. So just tell me what you would have changed with your life. And again, I think I think Walt goes first in respect to his the gray matter technology backstory, which we of course learned about in the very first episode of season 6 of Better Call Saul. No, I can't even speak. And we learned in the very first season of. In season 1 of Breaking Bad, excuse me, I think around and it was in the episode entitled Gray Matter. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat. At Horizon, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate all the support. Gotta keep the super chats going. Okay, I mean, thank you so much. Really appreciate the support, man. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. But yeah, at Love This Nation, yeah, my jaw, like I said, I literally stood up. I stood up. I put my hands on my head. My jaw did drop when I saw the deal scene. When he painted himself as a victim, I did not see that coming whatsoever. My jaw was on the floor. At Love This Nation, absolutely true, spot on. But yeah, it was again, I was really wondering where this was going, and I was thinking back out there, wait a minute, Kim Wexler's still out there. Like, Kim Wexler's going to have to come back into the story somehow. Is Kim going to testify against Saul? Is that what's going to happen here? So, I was like, what's going to happen here? And of course, we saw what happened in the end, where Saul basically, takes the bullet to save Kim. Sort of, more or less. That might be too simplistic of an explanation in all of this, but yeah, it's that's kind of what happened here. And again, we see this great scene here with Walter White, which I really enjoyed. Of course, this takes place in the timeline of Breaking Bad in Season 5 during the episode entitled Granite State. Prior to Saul fleeing Albuquerque for Omaha. And yeah, they talk about regrets here, and of course, we first learn about Walt's ties to Gray Matter back in Season 1 of Breaking Bad in the episode entitled Gray Matter, and of course, we then hear the more, detailed description of that backstory in the episode entitled Buyout, where he said, he had a company in college with Gretchen and Elliot. They had a falling out. The details don't really, matter, but he took a buyout for $5,000. And of course, the company ended up being worth billions. And of course, he says that's his biggest regret here. And again, like I talked about, it was never about the money. I mean, he could have sued them, I suppose, up through the 50 years of his life. And also, he could have reconciled everything. He could have reconciled with Elliot. And, in many respects, Elliot's like, what, you're right. You are entitled to this money. We absolutely should pay for your cancer treatment back in Season 1 of Breaking Bad. But of course, Walt did not accept that. He held up the facade. He lied to Skyler for 2 full seasons, saying that Gretchen and Elliot were paying for the cancer treatment, but of course he was using the money that he used when he was manufacturing and distributing methamphetamine. And it's again, it wasn't about that for Walt. It was about sort of doing something with his life. As he said in El Camino to Jesse Pinkman, you're lucky you didn't have to wait your entire life to do something great. And again, I don't know if manufacturing and distributing methamphetamine is something that should be revered. As Jesse Pinkman said to Walter White in that exact same episode in season 5 entitled Buyouts, when he said, is a meth empire really something to be proud of? When Walt said, I'm in the empire business. So, when Jesse said to him, when Mike, made that offer of that buyout about, are we in the meth business or are we in the money business? And then, of course, Walt says, I'm in the empire business. And as Jesse said, is a meth empire something to be proud about? And, Jimmy, of course, saying, his one regret is the slip and fall and him hurting his knee when he biffed it too hard. And, so again, Walt kind of saying, so you were like this your entire life. That was a very telling sort of piece of dialogue here, where he's even almost sort of saying, like, you were like this your whole life, like again, he doesn't know Chuck, but Chuck was right all along. You were always like this. And I like I said, my sort of editorial spin on it is like, I didn't break bad till I was 50. I was a quote unquote good person for whatever, for what that is. So again, very interesting piece of dialogue here for sure, which would display to us the standalone scene of Walter White in this series. But yeah, following this again, great scene here on the airplane. Just unbelievable scene on the airplane when he's being escorted by the U.S. Marshal and he's going back and forth with Bill Oakley. Great scene here. Again, they're on a Wayfair flight. A kind of a callback to the Wayfair plane crash that we saw in the episode entitled ABQ, the season 2 finale of Breaking Bad. And kind of a little bit of a shout out there. But yeah, we hear Bill Oakley gives Saul the information that Kim is basically in big legal trouble here. And of course, while I was wondering, in hindsight, I knew how wrong I should have been in respect to how, gotta take care of this. But yeah, I should have knew how wrong I was in respect to it. They sort of made it look like how, Saul was just going to screw over Kim Wexler even more. But of course, that didn't happen, where basically, he was going to, he jumped on the grenade to save Kim Wexler, to put it, bluntly. So yeah, that's, kind of what happened here following him getting this information. We see Kim in Florida. We see her volunteering at this Florida legal aid. Again, just living these very milquetoast boring life, where again, as Peter Gould and Vince Gilligan talked about in the Insider Podcast for 612, how she even is so afraid of making a decision to, she can't even make the smallest decision in respect to what restaurant to pick, just like she couldn't make the decision to vanilla over chocolate ice cream or Miracle Whip mayonnaise. Just so worried about, making a decision that would end up hurting someone, like she did with Howard Hamlin. That was at least the sort of literary premise that Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould talked about in the Insider Podcast for the previous episode. And we see more of the same in this episode in her life back in Florida. At Creamy Crypto, that's interesting. I think in the courtroom he changed his mind when he saw Kim. That's interesting, actually. I hadn't considered that, if he was going to sort of, go about the plan, but him seeing Kim like that, I don't know. That's interesting. That was the first time they saw each other since 2004, when she left his office during the flash horizontal to steal Peter Gould's term in the episode entitled Waterworks with Jesse Pinkman. And yeah, you wonder. That's a great point at Creamy Crypto. I hadn't considered that, kind of like where at the ending of Breaking Bad and Felina, I definitely think that Walt was initially going to kill Jesse Pinkman as well, because I think he actually believed that Jack Welker had partnered with Jesse. But when he saw Jesse in the state that he was in, he kind of changed his mind and sort of, let him live. At least that was his sort of intention. And yeah, a Creamy Crypto, interesting name there. I wonder, again, we don't know what was going on in their heads. Yeah, I don't know if Saul sort of had this in his head the entire time, that this was going to be his plan to save Kim, or when he saw Kim like that, he changed his mind. That's a great point at Creamy Crypto. I had not even considered that in respect to the storyline. Again, it wasn't really revealed to us, because there's no way of knowing what is going on in the characters' heads. I think he could have had something against her that lowered his sentence even more, and decided to just give up the Saul persona forever. That's interesting. Yeah, again, that's what I thought initially on the airplane at Creamy Crypto for sure. I thought he was going to even get a sentence even lower, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, the thing with Jesse Pinkman, when Walt saw Jesse in that, in that horrible state where he hadn't probably showered, and I mean, he was hosed down as we know in El Camino, but he was just so just ragged and so just, he looked terrible. I mean, he had basically been, emotionally and physically tortured for 6 months. But when he saw him like that, just seeing the state that Jesse was in, he changed his mind. But yeah, you wonder. Again, we don't know if. But then again, Saul. But at the same time, he said that he asked him to be here. So that was yeah, at Geo, he was ready to sell out for ice cream. Yeah, again, didn't he say that he asked for Kim to be here though? So again, it wasn't like Kim was there serendipitously. Like he asked for her to be there. Again, we don't know if that's technically true, but yeah, that's actually that's interesting food for thought at Creamy Crypto. It's something I hadn't even actually considered. So but yeah, seen here, I mean, Saul Goodman is just dressed in very sort of, his vibrant peacock colors. Again, this very, again, while we can't see the colors, this is probably a very vibrant, maybe shark skin suit, very vibrant tie, maybe purple shirt, classic Saul Goodman-esque suit here. But yeah, again, this sort of, the ending that, again, in a vacuum, I really don't mind this ending. I don't. I understand how Saul is atoning for what he did and how he's saying, yes, I was a bad person and I need to atone for my crimes and I do need to go to prison. It's then juxtaposed immediately with the scene with Charles McGill. But like I said, in a vacuum, I see what they're doing here. But again, I just don't understand why the same was not done with Jesse Pinkman. I don't know why. Again, as I think in like the episode, the inside the finale for Breaking Bad that they did way back in 2013, I think Vince Gilligan said when Jesse Pinkman drove through that gate in that El Camino, basically saying like, I hope Jesse Pinkman's off to sort of a happier life, after everything he's gone through. But again, I just don't understand. I just don't understand the parallel in respect to why. Sort of why only Jesse? Why Jesse gets to live this happy ending, and why he doesn't have to go to prison for all the things he did. I mean, I know we never met Gail Bedeker's family, but I imagine he had a family, and I imagine he had people who cared about him as well. And I guess maybe you say, well, he was in the game and Hank Schrader wasn't in the game, but are police officers and officers of the law in the game? Again, there are no rules in all of this. It's very subjective, and it's sort of just the criminals just sort of making up the rules as they go along, as you will. But yeah, it was kind of interesting. Just the fact that Saul basically gave himself up to atone for his crimes, sort of saying he lied about everything. I'm not a victim. I saw opportunity and I took it. But again, can Jesse Pinkman say the same thing? I'm not an opportunity. I saw opportunity and I took it, and I could rehash all of this so much, but I know a lot of people say that, when Jesse first met Walt, yes, in many respects he was forced to cook with him the first time because he really had no other recourse because Walt could have turned him in, and of course he could have said, this man said I was forced to do this, or, he said that, he wanted to cook meth, but of course it just hit his word against his, and there's really no evidence of that, but there's absolutely dead to rights evidence that Jesse is Captain Cook. But right after that initial cook, Walt then has no more recourse. Walt can't go to the police and turn Jesse in because Walt also cooked methamphetamine. So right at that moment right there, Jesse Pinkman could have walked away and said, all right, we cooked, you made the meth, you can't go to the police now because there's evidence that you manufactured methamphetamine as well. I can walk away from you. But like Jesse Pinkman, just like Saul Goodman, Jesse saw opportunity. Go back to season 1 of Breaking Bad in the pilot. He was just absolutely infatuated and immersed with Walter White's methamphetamine, saying, this is glass grade. You have crystals in here, 1-2 inches long. This is art. He was tantalized just as much as Saul Goodman. So again, I don't want to, I know Jesse views himself as a victim here, but again, he seems pretty similar to Saul Goodman in many respects. And again, I could rehash the entire story of Jesse Pinkman, but I kind of already did that in a past live stream. But again, like I said, in a vacuum, and at Voltaire325, I'll get to the super chat for sure. In a vacuum, I understand the ending. But again, the Jesse Pinkman juxtaposition, the parallel is just a thorn in my side here that I just don't understand. And like I said, maybe I'm being, maybe I'm just like a broken record. Maybe I'm fighting the good fight, but it is what it is. So at Voltaire325, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Should have ended at episode 9. Black and White was awful. Taking 86 years over 7. Silly. Prison Bus song was cringe. Love the show overall, but the last 4 were poor. Wow, there's a lot there. And like I said, this is America. At least I'm in America. And you're absolutely entitled to your opinion. And I think that should be the case all around the world. But yeah, I definitely agree. My goodness, the way I agree, those first 9 episodes were masterful. They were unbelievable. And I know, some people thought the episodes in between Rock and Hard Place with Nacho Vargas' death and episode 7, Plan and Execution, Howard Hamlin's death. I know some people felt that Hit and Run, Black and Blue, and Axe and Grind, it was a lot of setup, and a lot of people, I don't agree with that. I thought those episodes were absolutely well done, and we needed the plot development to sort of get to where we eventually got in the episode entitled Plan and Execution. And I thought Point and Shoot was very well done, very dependent on the Breaking Bad backstory with Lalo Salamanca. I thought Fun and Games was great, yes, but again, I don't want to sort of rehash all of this. But yeah, I mean the black and white scenes with Jeff and all of that. I mean the recast and all of that, and even the ending. Like I said, I know endings are very tough. They're very polarizing. It's hard to please everybody with endings. I mean, I think about the endings of a lot of very, very popular shows like Dexter and The Sopranos, who, a lot of people, the endings were very polarizing. Even a show like not in the same genre like Seinfeld, which is a comedy. This kind of had a Seinfeld ending a little bit, if you will, if you kind of get that reference, where I know that ending was very polarizing as well, and a lot of people didn't like the fact that the creator Larry David had painted the 4 protagonists of the show as bad people, kind of saying, everything they did over the show, they were bad people. A lot of people didn't like that ending. So, again, you're entitled to your opinion. Again, I don't have too much of a problem here, and yeah, it does, I mean, again, it's the irony of it all is where Saul says, I don't feel any remorse. I'm a bad person, but therefore I should serve my term. But it's weird. I feel like most criminals don't think that way. Most criminals who have no remorse and say, I don't have any regret, they don't want to serve the entire prison term, because does that make him a good person? I mean, does that make him better than someone like Lalo Salamanca, who also had absolutely no regrets? And if he went to prison, he would do anything to sort of save himself, and he has no regret with anything he did. Does that make Saul a better person? I guess by definition, but yeah, just sort of weird. I mean, I don't know. I sort of, I think I may have preferred a little bit. They sort of painted him as this evil villain character, sort of. But yeah, just kind of interesting. It's like, as Vince Gilligan sort of said himself at the end of Breaking Bad, how Saul Goodman was the sort of cockroach that survived the nuclear blast and could survive the nuclear blast. And the thing is, he really was. He could have survived this as well. He could have been out with good behavior in 5.5 years at Voltaire325. But he sort of, the only person who could really get him was himself. And that's what happened. And yeah, it's as Peter Gould said, the main story was about Jimmy and Kim, and then that's sort of what they focused on here in this last episode. We did not see Gus after Fun and Games. The show was not about displaying to us the backstory of the Super Lab. It wasn't about the backstory of sort of Saul Goodman prior to Walter White. It really was about the backstory of Jimmy and Kim. And again, say what you will about that, but that's the way the creators wrote this show. Sorry, I had to take care of that. Yeah, it's again, he's at Voltaire325. I think the point the creators are trying to make is that he's like, he doesn't want to be Saul, and he's sort of, he's atoning. He's saying, I'm a bad person. I need to atone for my sins. So that's kind of the point they're getting here, is where he's not Saul. I know I'm a bad person. So, it's again, it's sort of interesting. The dichotomy of that is just sort of very interesting, where, it's like he's better, like he's better than a criminal. He's sort of being honest that I have no remorse, but I'm also a good person because of that I should go to prison. I feel like, I don't know, do a lot of people like that exist in society? I feel like the people who have no remorse are they're not going to want to go to jail for 86 years. They're going to kind of want to, they're going to do anything to sort of save themselves. But again, it was about saving Kim, I guess. And again, it's kind of ironic where I guess, Kim really couldn't save herself, as she sort of said she would in the episode entitled Gloves Off in season 2 of Better Call Saul, where Saul really needed to save her here. But, yeah, at Chef Big Hat, yeah, either way, Better Call Saul was great, a great ride, and my life was better. Yeah, absolutely. I still enjoy the show, absolutely. And, yep, at Dylan 2 times for sure. Like I said, I didn't really enjoy the Breaking Bad ending the first time when I saw it as much, but I've definitely come around to it more now, 9 years later. So, it's, yeah, at Relax and Sleep, I agree. In the end, I truly think Jimmy found remorse. I agree. I think he did. He truly he had remorse for what he did. He truly did. And again, after he narcs on himself here and basically saves himself and says it was all him and he deserves to go to jail. This is then, of course, juxtaposed. Again, we see the shot of Kim Wexler here as well. But, of course, it was then juxtaposed immediately with this scene here with him and Charles McGill. But yeah, at Rem Win, he clearly had remorse for Chuck. Yeah, again, it's kind of he did. He talked about how he sort of he killed him, and he killed Chuck, and the whole plot with the insurance as well, which I believe took place in season 3 of A Better Call Saul in the episode entitled Expenses, when he went in and sort of got Charles McGill's insurance revoked, which ended up, making him not being able to be a lawyer, which basically took away his entire reason for being. And, he kind of had remorse for that. And, of course, that scene was, of course, juxtaposed with this scene here where it's clear that Charles McGill had just started his sort of hypersensitivity to electromagnetism, because he's saying, I think it's almost as if this is the very first time that Jimmy ever did this. And, it's kind of like, I guess he sort of did buy into everything that did this for him. He would do it over the course of season 1 of Better Call Saul until the episode entitled Pimento, when he quit. But of course, he would come back again from time to time in season 2 as well. But yeah, I guess he's kind of agreeing with Chuck, where he said, you are slipping, Jimmy, and when you mess with the law, people get hurt. Again, kind of juxtaposing. What Charles McGill always said to him his entire life. But again, we don't know what's going on in his head. I mean, it's it's just up for us to sort of interpret what's going on in Saul's head here. And again, this scene here where he's going to prison after this, again, when the prisoner recognized him, and again, while it initially looked like sort of like they were just like sort of intimidating him, in hindsight, I guess it turned out to be that they were revering him for being the sort of lawyer who helps criminals. I think that's what they were sort of going for here in this scene here when Jimmy finally goes to prison. We see him working in the cafeteria, and again, he does look much more comfortable there than he did when he was working at Cinnabon at Rem Win. That is funny. I'm rooting for the dumpster diver who finds some of those loose diamonds. Yeah, for sure. I never got to hear the backstory of that, for sure. But yeah, like I said, the criminals revered him. He was very, he seemed to be comfortable working in the cafeteria. He seemed to be more at home in prison. And I think that's kind of what they were going for here, how Saul was kind of more in home at prison. He sort of feels like, yeah, I'm a criminal. I deserve to be here. But, yeah, that's kind of what we get at. And, then, of course, we see the great scene here of Jimmy and Kim where, 86 years instead of 7, just kind of displaying to us that Saul's going to be in there for the rest of his life. Again, I'll have to sort of re-listen to the dialogue here a little bit, but of course he sort of, I guess Kim sort of said her law license or her sort of bar license never expired, so she got to remain a lawyer, I suppose. Yeah, at KT, I guess Jeff is going to prison for identity fraud, I would imagine, since Saul sort of spilled the beans on himself completely, not saving Jeff or anything like that. But, yeah, so again, I'll have to go back and listen to this dialogue here in respect to the 86 years, the sort of subtle nuance of everything, but at Abraham Castle, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate the support. Wasn't a big fan of how Walter was acting in the flashback. the way he was speaking and treating Saul felt like out of character in my opinion. I don't know about that. I think he was sort of in character. He sort of was still Heisenberg. He felt like he had power over Saul, being very dismissive. I feel like he did kind of talk to Saul about like that back in once season 5 of Breaking Bad started. In the episode entitled Live Free or Die, when of course Saul says to him that, we're done after the Brock poisoning, which I thought would be addressed but wouldn't. And of course, Walt then says to him, "We're done when I say we're done," sort of, having this sort of dominating position over Saul. And I don't know. I think that's how he would talk to him in that point in time at Abraham Castle. If you go back and listen to season 5 or watch season 5 of Breaking Bad, that really was the sort of Heisenberg persona that Walt was using with Saul. I would tend to again, if you go back, that's sort of just my interpretation of it. It definitely seemed in character to me. If you go back and watch season 5 after that speech that he gave, and at Non Nova Solum, I see the super chat. I will get to that for sure. But if you go back and watch season 5 after that, we're done when I say we're done, in Live Free or Die, and of course in Granite State when he goes up to him and says, "You're coming with me to New Hampshire," and Saul says, "I'm a civilian now. I'm not your lawyer. I'm no one's lawyer. The fun's over. Best case scenario, a month from now, I'm managing a Cinnabon in Omaha." And then Walt says, "You're still a part of this, whether you want to or not. You're still a part of this, whether you like it or not." And Saul says, "I don't think so." And then, of course, Walt goes up to him again to say, "Remember what I told you? It's not over until..." And then, of course, he has the coughing fit, and then Saul says it's over. Of course, Walt realizing that it is over. But again, long story long there at Abraham Castle. If you go back and watch season 5 of Breaking Bad, I think it was in character. At least that's in my opinion. And, maybe you can have a different opinion for sure. But if you go back and rewatch season 5 of Breaking Bad, when this scene took place, that's definitely how Walt really sort of treated Saul, in my opinion. But yeah, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. At Non Nova Solum, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Joining late cause just finished watching it. First impressions, disappointing all around. Some pretty cinematography and touching moments, but yeah, maybe with time, but for now, not feeling it. Yeah, I talked about this a little bit earlier, Non Nova Solum, and thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. And at Hearn Burford, I'll get to that. I see that super chat. I'll get to that as well. But yeah, at Non Nova Solum, like I said, I'm still sort of ruminating on the ending, but I don't know about you. But that scene that I talked about a little bit earlier in the stream, when that scene when sort of Saul paints himself as a victim, when he totally turns the sort of screws on the feds and Marie and says, Walter White came into my office under false pretenses as Mr. Mayhew and sort of bribed me and I didn't accept it, which is absolutely true, and then said, he then kidnapped me and put a gun to my head and kneeled me in front of an open grave and forced me to work with him, and basically said that I was in fear for my life because if I didn't stop working with him, he would have killed me, and the reason why I ran wasn't from the feds, it was from Walt and from Jesse, and even though I knew Walt was dead, Jesse was still out there and he could have killed me. My jaw dropped and I stood up with my hands on my head saying, "Oh my goodness, I did not see that coming." That was unbelievable, that scene. But again, in the end, when he sort of gave up on that plea deal to save Kim, and the sort of way it sort of paints him as like the guy who, again, I talked about it a lot in respect to him basically saying, "I'm a bad guy, I deserve to go to jail," and sort of that makes me sort of redeemable in many respects. I'm not the victim. Like I'm sort of atoning and manning up to everything I did at Non Nova Solum. Again, I'm not too sure how I feel about all that, especially, and as I talked about a lot in this stream as well, sort of if you juxtapose that with Jesse Pinkman, who really does feel like he's a victim despite the fact that he was kind of, very opportunistic in many respects with Walter White, just like Saul was. And, Jesse's living happily ever after in Alaska, and Gene's going to die in Jimmy, who is going to die in prison. So, again, maybe I'm sort of missing a greater nuance here, but I don't know. I'll have to sort of ruminate on it for sure. And like I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Breaking Bad ending back in 2013, but I definitely like it more now for sure. So, who knows? Maybe I'll feel different about this. And again, at Non Nova Solum, there were a lot of things that were open-ended in this storyline. Even we don't know where the diamonds came from. I had my theories I talked about a little bit earlier. We never saw Gus again after Fun and Games, so that's the very last scene we saw of him. And like Peter Gould said, the story was about Jimmy and Kim, and that's what they focused on in this last episode. It was Jimmy and Kim. That was the main story, where, Jimmy basically saves Kim, more or less. Again, I'll have to go back and listen to the sort of exact chain of dialogue here that led to all of this. I only listened to it once, but yeah. Mixed feelings about this finale for sure. Like I said, that scene with Saul painting himself as a victim in front of the feds with Marie, that might have been my favorite scene in this entire series, which is kind of ironic, seeing that, the ending I'm still kind of scratching my head about a little bit in respect to the way they painted all the characters. So, at Hearns Burford, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. I actually thought for a brief moment there was actually going to be some time travel in this episode with all the talk of time machines. That's kind of funny. I mean, they sort of, I guess, time traveled in these last 3 episodes with Breaking Bad, Waterworks, and Saul Gone, when they sort of had those flash horizontals, the running between the raindrops, as Peter Gould said. So I guess that's sort of time travel, but again, not in the way that you're thinking about where you can change the past. At least that's what Walter White was sort of insinuating. But yeah, again, it was sort of the metaphor of time travel and all of that. And yeah, I'm just kind of, a lot of sort of metaphors here, a lot of the symbolism behind all of the sort of themes here in respect to the time travel conversations that we had in this series. But it's some interesting food for thought there for sure at Hearns Burford. And thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. I'm reading the ad of who runs the episode transition Saul to Gene, namely the moral arc. It was too abrupt. It occurred literally within a single scene without prior basis. Ending was morally ambiguous. What was the shooting motion? Yeah, again, a lot of moral ambiguity there for sure. Again, a lot of it was very ambiguous. And again, Vince Gilligan even sort of talked about this, or it was either Vince Gilligan or Peter Gould said they almost sort of showed their hand here a little bit, where in hindsight I should have seen this coming. But on the Insider podcast for the previous episode, they sort of talked about how, it's more fun for the sort of audience to sort of, come up with the sort of interpretation of what they're, seeing on screen rather than it just being sort of spoon-fed to them. And that's definitely seemingly what the creators went for here. Again, I don't know if there's any right answer to all of this. Like I said, it's we don't know what's going on in the characters' heads. We don't know the sort of the rationale behind all of the decision-making. But it's like I said, I'll have the rest of my life to think about it for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, Dandy Man, that's a good point. Skylar deserved to go to a prison too. Probably she was morally culpable in a lot of this. She was not a blameless victim. She went along with a lot of this stuff. She even, in many respects, was an accessory to attempted murder when she was all in favor of Walt using Jack Walker and his men to kill Jesse Pinkman in the episode entitled "Rabid Dog." So yeah, it's true. It's kind of like people like Walt and people like Gene, sort of taking the they're being the ones who are sort of morally culpable for, the crimes that, a lot of people committed. So, yeah, at Thomas Theory, yeah, the lighter was in color, and the tip of the cigarette as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that was in color as well, the tip of the cigarette. So, again, what is the meaning? Again, I mean, it's definitely up to our own devices. I mean, maybe the creators were going for something, but yeah, a lot of food for thought here in respect to this ending, where it's kind of funny, when they made El Camino, I was kind of thinking maybe they'll give Jesse a completely different ending compared to what he had in Breaking Bad. Because in Breaking Bad, it was pretty much all but implied that Jesse was going to live happily ever after when he drove through those gates and live a happier life. Again, the step-by-step process wasn't displayed to us, but then, of course, it was in El Camino, and basically it was just sort of them tripling down on the ending of Jesse's character in Breaking Bad. But in Better Call Saul, they basically paint Jimmy as this, bad person, and he got away in the end in Breaking Bad, but he gets the opposite ending where he ends up in prison here in Better Call Saul. So yeah, like I said, a lot of food for thought in respect to this ending. So, and yeah, who knows? Yeah, Justin Cruz, who knows? I guess it opens the door to who knows what's next. If there's another iteration of this universe, who knows? But yeah, yeah, a lot of emotions, a mixed bag of emotions when I after watching this episode for damn sure. So, Yeah, at Nudgy Ramirez, that's interesting how you say it's a good way to wrap up the series, but it's an individual episode. It wasn't in your top five. Again, the sort of cognitive dissonance of that, if I'm using that term correctly. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, and at Sada Sa, he did screw over Bill. He kind of did. If he got that plea deal, Bill Oakley could have basically said Saul Goodman was looking at a life sentence, and I got him down to 7 years. He absolutely could have used it as a selling point at Sada Sa. You're absolutely right. But again, it was all about Kim. Back that speech that he gave to her in Fun and Games, he did, love her, I guess, and maybe if he had that time machine, he would have went back and lived, his entire life with Kim Wexler. Maybe he was just sort of emotionally coping all throughout Breaking Bad when he was having sex with prostitutes like he was doing over the course of Breaking Bad. He was just feeling the emotional void in his life, and really he wanted to be with Kim all along. Definitely possible, but again, we don't know because we don't know what's going on in Saul Goodman's head, and we will have the rest of our lives to speculate it on. At Raul Sanchez, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support, man. My only real gripes about the Gilliverse: 1, Hector Salamanca getting a happy-ish ending. 2, the Jesse thing. 3, a feeble cancer patient gets the drop on the most situationally aware, tactically sharp character in the story, Mike. Okay, I'll work forward to backwards there. So yeah, again, Hector Sell again, that is kind of true. Where they painted Gus Fring in this very, as Giancarlo Esposito said, personal, powerful, and profound. The sort of Gus Fring ending, where that wine bar scene was the very last scene that we saw of him. And it is kind of funny, how in the end, despite everything that happened to Hector, I've talked about this in the past. How I don't think Hector wins, but Hector. No. Let me rephrase that. Like Gus Fring didn't. Like again. Hector, they sort of both lost, it wasn't even really a tie, and maybe you could even sort of spin it that Hector sort of beat Gus in the end, where he got the better of him, despite everything that happened, where it was kind of like, just an unbelievable, just horrible, just battle of attrition that ended in the death of both characters at Raul Sanchez. So I know what you're getting at there. And number 2, the Jesse thing. I mean, I could talk about that till the cows come home. But in respect to a feeble cancer patient gets the drop on the most situationally aware tactic. Oh, I see what you're saying. So basically, you're saying how Walt was feeble and cancer ridden. He ended up getting Mike. But yeah, again, I remember that scene. Going back to season 5 of Breaking Bad, the episode entitled "Say My Name." But again, Mike could have turned around and he could have went in that car and drove away even after Walt said "You're welcome." When Mike felt the need to tell him off, and as smart as characters like Gus and Mike are, again, they sometimes let their guard down. And, they let their emotions get the best of them, which end up being their downfall. Pretty common trope in writing, for sure. And even a character like Walter White, who Walter White was also, a genius in many respects, but, and was very sort of rational in his decision-making at Raul Sanchez. But when he got that text message in the episode entitled Tahajli, where it looked like his money was buried in the desert, instead of him thinking, wait a minute, how is this possible? He acted very irrationally and immediately trudged out and fell right into Hank and Steve Gomez's and Jesse's trap. So, like I said, very, very smart characters like Gus and even Lalo and Mike and Walt, despite how almost superhuman they seem and how intelligent they seem, at the end of the day, we have to remember we're all human beings. We're all incredibly emotional. We're not robots. We make very poor decisions. We act on our human emotions, which end up being, our downfall in many respects, at least in terms of literary characters, but even in our own lives, we make emotional decisions that in hindsight, maybe we wish we had a time machine and we could redo. But that's not the way life works. We're not robots. We're all humans. There are no Supermen among us. So, yeah, that's an interesting sort of a premise you have there in respect to the Gilliverse for sure. And again, even with me, with all the sort of, again, it's very hard to end television shows and add iconic images and at Steve Bob JD. I'll get to those super chats for sure. But yeah, like I said, it's hard to end shows like I've talked about in the past, but this is my favorite universe of all time. It will always be my favorite universe of all time. And I kind of knew that the endings were again, it's hard to please everybody. But yeah, I love this universe. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. I've seen these episodes many, many, many times. So yeah, I really appreciate the support at Raul Sanchez. Thank you so much. Iconic Images, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. I love the finale. However, I had a strange feeling there was about to be a prison break in the bus, and it would have ended with Saul just smirking. The audience left to determine what he did next. Yeah, it's sort of an interesting sort of scene there. You're kind of going back to the sort of the bus scene there where it looked like the prisoner was going to intimidate Saul, but in hindsight, he was, the prisoners kind of revered him. We even see him getting, the fist bump in the prison cafeteria where he's definitely respected in prison. He kind of went in with his head held high. He's kind of the John Dillinger, if you will, of the ADX Montrose, as he recommended that Walter White would do in the episode entitled Granite State. And yeah, again, that would have been quite a twist there. But again, I don't know if I saw the prison break coming. I kind of saw this ending happening with Jimmy and Kim. I really sort of did, seeing like not this exact iteration verbatim, but an ending sort of like this where we see both of them together in the jail. I kind of saw this coming a little bit. But yeah, like I said, I loved parts of this finale for sure. Like I said, that scene when Saul painted himself as the victim, that blew my mind. That absolutely blew my mind. I did not see that coming. That was probably the biggest twist of the entire universe of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I mean, I'm trying to think of whatever other sort of twist comes to mind, but that was the number one twist I sort of experienced. And then the way it sort of went after that, again, I'm still sort of ruminating on it and I'm still sort of thinking about it, but yeah, it's I don't know if I saw that prison break coming on the bus, but at first I did think it was intimidation at Iconic Images, but it was clearly meant to display to us that he was sort of revered by these prisoners as being the criminal lawyer who helped people like them when they were in legal situations like that. He was really sort of the criminal lawyer. At least that was sort of my interpretation of it all. And at Iconic Images, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. At Steve Bob JD, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate all the support that you've given to this channel. I'm sad it's over. One day will I wake up, brush my teeth, and realize I hadn't thought about it. Thank you for all the commentary. That is quite the pull right there, man. I see what you did there at Steve Bob JD. Great callback to that Bad Choice Road speech that Mike gave to Jimmy in his car in that episode. Where again, you wonder. I mean, I love this show. Like I said, this universe has been a part of my life since 2011, since I first started watching Breaking Bad after season 4 ended. I've said it in the past how I binged the first 3 seasons on Netflix, and then I went out to Walmart with cash because I didn't even have a credit card at the time, and I bought an iTunes gift card and I bought season 4 and binged that right away. And then, then I started watching Breaking Bad season 5 on television, and the rest is history. I've been watching on television ever since part one of season 5 of Breaking Bad in 2012. And yeah, this has really been a part of my life for like over 10 years now at Steve Bob JD. But yeah, you wonder, man. You wonder, I mean, as much as people like this show, I mean, you wonder if people will, again, you wonder if if there's not another iteration of it, you just kind of wonder the staying power it has. I mean, I know shows like Star Wars and like the Marvel Universe and things like that, they keep making new and new things. So, it keeps it relevant. But yeah, you wonder, if there really are no other iterations of this, you kind of wonder, whether or not, like you said, if, people will like, be as, immersed and infatuated with the show as they once were. At a Hearn Beffer, I'll get to the super chat for sure. Thank you so much. But yeah, it's a great point you raise at Steve Bob JD. That is a great point, absolutely. And like I said, shows like Star Wars, it's relevant. They're always making more and more content. Like Marvel, more and more content. It's one big universe that ties into itself. And again, I'm not really a fan of either. I'm not really a sci-fi guy. But yeah, if they don't make any more iterations, you wonder. That is a sobering thing you said right there, man. You're making me a little bit emotional here at Steve Bob JD with that comment. I hadn't even considered that, as big of a part of as this universe is, and a lot of people's lives. If they don't make more iterations of it, I don't know what kind of staying power it may have. I don't know. I don't know if Slippin' Jimmy is really cutting it for the next iteration. And like I've talked about how I'm kind of joking there, but like I said, when Breaking Bad ended in 2013, I think Better Call Saul was all but sort of a done deal in terms of a spinoff. And we knew it was coming, and it came out like a year and a half later in 2015. But yeah, we're in 2022 right now, and there's nothing confirmed on the horizon outside of this Slippin' Jimmy thing that they made. So, man, it's quite the emotional thing you said there, Steve Bob JD. You really got me there, man. You got me there for sure, man. That one hit me. So, but yeah, really appreciate all the support you've given to this channel at Steve Bob JD. It's been quite a ride for sure ever since 2011. I mean, I hope it's clear that I truly do love this universe, and I'm not, I know there's a lot of people out there who talk about things because it's popular, but I genuinely love this universe. I've seen these episodes again and again and again. I love the premise of these characters. I love I love the sort of the writing of these characters. Again, the endings of it all, again, it's hard to, that's kind of, again, I'm kind of, maybe I'm being too existential here, but maybe maybe the reason why I did, in my mind, I don't like the ending of Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul is because I don't like the fact that it's ending. It's not about how it ends, it's the fact that it's over. Maybe that's, subconsciously, maybe that's why I'm sort of nitpicking the endings here, because I'm truly just sort of emotionally taken aback by the fact that it's over. Maybe that's sort of why I am sort of have the opinions I have on all these endings. So who knows, man? That's Steve Bob JD. Who knows? So again, I wonder. Like I said, there's a lot of time to ruminate on it for sure in respect to this unbelievable universe. I know I've heard Vince Gilligan talk about how he doesn't want to be a one-trick pony and how he wants to do other things. But again, at the same time, I mean, this is a great universe. He's caught lightning in a bottle 3 times. I mean, I think despite my sort of nitpicking the endings of these three iterations of El Camino, Breaking Bad, and Better Call Saul, I still absolutely love these sort of this universe. So again, if he wants to move on from it and he wants to sort of say this is it, it's definitely up to him. He's the creator, but we'll see if there's more to come in this in the Gilliverse as it's called. So. Ooh, food for thought there for sure, man. Like I said, Steve Bob JD, you got me there, man. You really did. Man, at Hearn Burford, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Do you think there might be a Better Call Saul movie like El Camino? A Gus prequel spin-off series would be more interesting to see. Yeah, I think both are absolutely possible. Again, I kind of ties into what I was saying about Steve Bob JD's comments about how right now, again, in an interview, Vince Gilligan said he's in no rush to do another iteration of this universe, and he says he kind of doesn't want to be a one-trick pony. But again, he said if you asked him after Breaking Bad, he probably would have said the same thing. And when we still got Better Call Saul and El Camino. And it is kind of crazy in hindsight, you don't really think of it at the time, but El Camino came out 6 years after Breaking Bad ended. So if we use that sort of same time span, we're not going to get a Better Call Saul movie until, 2028? That is quite a ways away. But at the same time, of course, Better Call Saul was going on, so it wasn't like there was a 6-year gap in the universe. There was only a 1.5-year gap, and Better Call Saul was going on while the Breaking Bad movie El Camino was being written. So I think it's possible. I definitely think it's possible we could see a movie. It's possible. I don't know what we would do it on. I'm not going to be part of it, but I don't know how Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould would write this movie. I don't know what the sort of a premise of it would be. Sort of the Jesse Pinkman movie was a logical continuation with it being just rather open-ended. And yeah, the Gus Fring prequel spinoff, absolutely, I would love to see that. Like I said, I knew there was no way they could address the entire open-ended Chilean past. Like I said, there's an entire spinoff there. You can't wrap that up in an episode. You can't wrap that up in a season. There's a whole spinoff there. Again, how do I feel about a different actor portraying the character? I don't know how I feel about that. There's really no other choice without de-aging technology because, Giancarlo Esposito, it's going to be tough for him to play a 20-year-old version of himself. But then again, Jeff the cab driver is a shapeshifter, so who knows? Yeah, who knows? Fingers crossed that anti-aging technology gets precipitously cheaper. It's unbelievably expensive. Again, I had this thought in my head that maybe Giancarlo Esposito, who no one knows the character of Gus Fring better than him, could portray it with Irishman technology, but someone who knows this much better than me told me that it is unbelievably expensive to do that. It's so expensive to use that technology in films. The Irishman budget was, between $100 and $200 million, something like that. And that's ridiculous. In terms of making a television show, you can't make any money doing that. And a big company like Netflix can afford to produce a television show when they have a market capitalization in the hundreds of billions of dollars. At least they did at their all-time high. I'm not sure what it is now, but yeah, I would absolutely be interested in a spin-off Gus Fring Chile spin-off. But I don't know how I'd feel about a different actor. I know. Again, I haven't seen the movie, but I know they made a Han Solo spin-off prequel with a different actor, and I think that was a little bit polarizing. So, again, I don't know. Like I said, truly, I'll watch any spin-off. I really will. in this universe. I mean, with how could I not when the three iterations have been so good? I mean, of course I would give it a shot. I mean, is there a possibility that it's not good as Vince Gilligan sort of is insinuating and alluding to? I guess it's technically possible, but again, I mean, I don't know why I would think that when the first three iterations were just unbelievable. So, yeah, I would be open to both of those for sure at Hearn Burford. And thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. At Ravel, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Gus, prequel with deep fake tech with Giancarlo. Yeah, I sort of alluded to that. Like I said, that would be unbelievable if they could do it. I think that is just gold written all over it. There's so much open-ended backstory in Gus Fring's storyline in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I could talk about that for hours. But yeah, like I said, unfortunately, the technology is just not cost-effective. It's not. It's way too expensive. They can't make a show. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's a business, and they're not going to lose money on a TV show. It's not at the end of the day, it's not only an art piece. I know it's like there's art in television, but it's also a business by definition. They're not going to lose money, so. Like I said, I would watch any spinoff. I truly would. Francesca, why not? Papa Varga, as a Richie MC is saying, yep, absolutely. I mean, if Vince Gilligan is behind it, absolutely. So, yeah, Chauncey Holt though. But if you listen, like I said, that was sort of more a thought experiment, as Saul was saying to Walter White in the basement of Ed Disappears vacuum cleaner repair store. But like I said, I would be open to it. But if you listen to Vince Gilligan, I wouldn't have my hopes up that high, unfortunately. So, for better or for worse. So, excuse me. At Ravel, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Great and sad ending, in my opinion. I hope he gets out of prison before he's 70. LOL. Thoughts on what videos you'll be doing going forward? Stranger Things. A lot there for sure. Again, like I said, I'm not so sure about this. I think this is true, but I think you have to serve 80% of your term in federal prison before you get out on bail. So that would be, I think, 68.8 years. I think Relax and Sleep pointed out to me. So he would have to be 118 and almost 118.8 years old before he got paroled. Unless his sentence was unless he got like a presidential pardon or something like that. But that was kind of the point where he feels like he has to sort of go to prison for the rest of his life at Ravel. But in respect to the videos I'll do going forward, again, I don't know. I really don't know, to tell you the truth. I don't know. I've actually never seen Stranger Things. I know people are a big fan of the show. But like I said, it's sort of, I've been extremely lucky that I got to talk about something that I'm truly passionate about in a Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. And, I don't want to sort of force it and talk about something I'm not truly a fan of and truly passionate about. I feel like it would sort of come through. I hope it's come through that I'm truly passionate about this show, and I've genuinely enjoyed this show, and I've seen this show multiple times, and I'm sort of not just talking about this show because it's popular. I genuinely love this show. And so, yeah, again, in respect to, like I said, I know there's so much great television out there. I've never seen Stranger Things. I've never seen Ozark. I've never seen Succession. I know that's a very sort of a critically acclaimed show. There's so much great TV out there that I've never seen. So, we'll see. I mean, I'm not so sure what the future holds, but we'll see, in respect to, again, at Ravel, you say Ozark is boring, but I've also heard people say Ozark is amazing. And I know I've heard some people say that, Stranger Things is unbelievable. And, at Steve Bob JD, yeah, the color will come back when Jimmy's 118 years old. So I guess it's technically possible that he gets out of prison. What is the longest a human being has ever lived? Like 122 years. I think that woman in the south of France. Again, I would butcher the name it's like Jean Clement. That name, I might butcher that name. But again, most human beings do not. I mean, a tenth of a percent of people live that long. So again, the premise is that he's gonna die in prison. He decided to do that. To again, we don't know why. Again, we sort of know why the creators displayed this to us. But at the end of the day, we don't know what's going on in Saul's head. It seems like he did it to save Kim in many respects. and that how he truly loves Kim, and if he had that time machine, he would have went back to when he was in a relationship with Kim, and where he would have lived happily ever after with her if he could, and the sort of having sex with prostitutes, and using Xanax, and even maybe even assuming this Saul Goodman persona was a way to emotionally cope with all of the emotional turmoil he was dealing with. But yeah, it was it's food for thought. And yeah, Justin Cruz, to tell you the truth, I actually enjoyed the Marie scene. I really did. Especially because it was in the context of Gene, Saul, Jimmy, just that unbelievable twist where he gets his sentence down to 7 years from life plus 90 or whatever it was. I mean, just an unbelievable twist. I actually really liked seeing Marie there. I did. I liked the Marie scene. I really did. I thought that was very well done. It would make sense that she would be there, and I mean, maybe this may upset some people, but hopefully for Marie's sake, Jesse, John Louis Clement, that was it. I think I said John Clement. Maybe I was right. Yeah, 122 years and 146 days. So maybe Saul can live that long. He can get paroled and he can live a few more years. So, but like I was saying, I did enjoy the Marie scene at Relax and Sleep. Thank you so much. But to tell you the truth, if for Marie's sake, I really hope that Jesse Pinkman is also found in Alaska, and he also, pays for his crimes as well, so Marie can get closure, where everyone involved in the death of Hank Schrader will get closure in some respects. And again, I don't know exactly how involved Jesse would be since he sort of was helping the feds in respect to him manufacturing methamphetamine. He didn't really have to do with the death of Hank Schrader. I mean, again, could you charge him with accessory to murder as well? Again, I don't know. I mean, I'm no legal expert. I'm not so sure, but it is like I said, I think Marie would be totally fine with Jesse Pinkman getting made and extradited to Albuquerque, and him being right beside Saul and ADX Florence. So, at Dylan 2 times, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Just wanted to say thank you for all your good content, Anton. Really appreciate that, man. Succession is very good. You will enjoy it. Any content you discuss, I'll be here. Try Mad Men too. Yeah, Mad Men, that's an AMC show, right? Again, I've never seen Mad Men. Like I said, I really haven't seen a lot of these great dramas. There's so much at Richie MC. Dexter goes to Alaska to kill Jesse. Again, I know, I've never seen Dexter. I sort of know the ending a little bit. That kind of became like a pop culture sort of phenomenon. But yeah, there's so much good television out there that I haven't really seen. And yeah, like I said, I don't watch a lot of these dramas, to tell you the truth. It was kind of just, I was just kind of the point I was at in my life. I kind of just accidentally stumbled on the Breaking Bad and just became just absolutely immersed with it. But like I've said, another one, Boardwalk Empire. Yeah, Matt Joyce. I've heard that one. I've heard that as an unbelievable show as well. I've heard great things about Boardwalk Empire. Yeah, I've never seen Game of Thrones. I know. I swear I haven't seen any of these shows. I've never seen CSI Miami. I know. I mean, yeah, never seen Dexter, never seen Game of Thrones, never seen CSI Miami, never seen Boardwalk Empire, never seen Ozark, never seen Stranger Things. Absolutely true. Never seen any of those shows. Like I've talked about in the past, this might be surprising, but I watch a lot of like cartoons and stuff like that. I've never seen The Walking Dead either at Richie MC. I watch a lot of Family Guy. Again, it's kind of juxtaposes the sort of very dark, sort of intense nature of a Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, and what have you seen at Jamie Tweedy? That is funny, man. But maybe this will sort of make sense to you. But again, maybe with the benefit of hindsight. At Benito C, have you seen Breaking Bad? That is funny, man. But yeah, so again, as you can probably tell, when I do watch a show, I tend to get very immersed in it like this, as I've done with Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. So I don't know. It's almost like It's almost like, I want to start one of these shows, but I'm almost afraid that I'm going to almost like get too immersed in it, and I get so hung up on every little thing. And again, if I don't end up liking the show, it's kind of like, it feels like a lot of time, just kind of learning all the backstory and everything like that. But, and if I don't end up liking the show, again, there have been some shows where I started watching that I never finished as well. So, but yeah, it is, like I said, I watch, Family Guy will spoof Better Call Saul, maybe. Yeah, I've seen I watch things like Family Guy. I've seen all of Archer. I'm a fan of. I loved F is for Family. Again, quite that hurts, Bill Burr. That really hurts how you didn't appear in Better Call Saul. That one hurts, man. That really does. But like I said, I made that almost fan fiction video in respect to the Bill Burr miniseries in this universe, which I think could be absolute gold, even if it's just like 6 episodes or something of a Kubi on the run after Breaking Bad. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Like I said, it comes across a little bit as big timing. I think Bill Burr a little bit, because I know he was a member of Saul Goodman's A-Team, but I know Bill Burr is an international superstar. He's so famous. He was the host of SNL. He's a household name. But, no offense to Tina Parker and Lavelle Crawford, but they're not that. And, when they were offered Better Call Saul, of course they came back because they're not Bill Burr. But, it is what it is. So, it is what it is. It's unfortunate, that Kubi didn't come back. I really had my fingers crossed. And again, he was supposed to come back in season 5, apparently. He was supposed to be in the episode entitled Dedicado a Max, and he was supposed to be the PI that Saul hired when Mike was in Mexico recovering. He couldn't hire him to do the reconnaissance work on Mesa Verde, Don Wachtel at Mesa Verde. But it's no, Kevin Wachtel. Don was the father. Kevin Wachtel, excuse me. Kevin Wachtel at Mesa Verde, and instead they replaced him with Mr. X because he couldn't do the scene, unfortunately. But yeah, it is what it is. So. Dylan 2 times. I wish we could have seen Kubi. I really do. I really do. I really do. I wish we could have seen Kubi somehow. We got to hear him. I mean, I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see Price as Danny, who runs the laser tag. But again, the story was kind of, a lot of dedication here to the story of Jimmy and Kim in the black and white scenes. So, it is what it is. So. Yeah, at Suke Diaz. Yeah, again, I'm still ruminating on it, man. I really am. A mixed bag of emotions here. I really do. I really have a mixed bag of emotions here in terms of this series finale. At Lee Barocas Johnson, again, another one I'm embarrassed that I haven't seen. I've never seen The Wire. I've never seen The Wire as well. Yeah, again, a mixed bag of emotions here. Again, like I said, I could talk about I don't think there's any right answer to any of this at a Joe 1257 when you say it was anticlimactic. Again, we could talk about this forever. There's a lot of sort of philosophical sort of aspects in respect to this ending. A lot of existential aspects where there's no real right answer in any of it. It's sort of just someone's opinion. So it it is what it is. So. But yeah, absolutely, Sam. It did redeem Saul. I agree. It did in a vacuum. I really really agree with that. I like that ending for sure. And like Saul redeemed himself. I really do like that. How he redeemed himself and he said, "I need to atone for my sins, and I have to, Chuck was right all along, and I want to atone for all the bad things I did to Chuck and all the bad things I did to all of these people." But again, why not? Are we gonna get a sort of movie where Jesse ends up in prison as well? I mean, again, I know I'm like a broken record here, but again, he's a very integral part of this universe, and I guess is Saul better than Jesse and better than Kim as well because he sort of atoned in prison for. I mean, is he again at I think at Gary Mercado talked about the sort of religious symbolism here. I mean, what is sort of is Saul sort of again, I think you were sort of insinuating it here. I'm finally getting it now almost 2 hours later about Saul sort of dying so or proverbially so Jesse, characters like Jesse and Kim can live. I mean, is he sort of like a Christ-like figure by doing this? So again, food for thought, man. Again, I don't know. I truly don't know how to. Again, I'm working out my emotions in live time on stream right now in respect to how I feel about this ending. And yeah, like I said, my opinions have vastly changed from when I watched Breaking Bad in 2013 to the ending to how I feel right now. But yeah, I'm working through how I feel about the ending right now, and I'll definitely sort of rewatch, this show for sure. At least this episode for sure. But yeah, a lot of mixed bag of emotions here. Yeah, Siciliano Toronto, he's definitely a celebrity. They sort of painted him that way. He absolutely is revered in jail. And like I said, that scene in the episode entitled Breaking Bad, when he's sort of he cannot continue as he is at a Cinnabon, and he feels more at home in prison. I definitely agree. But it is what it is. So. Yeah, it's true. At Joe 1257, he was gonna live like a king in prison, absolutely. And I guess again, that's a great point. He's gonna live like a king. It's like I'm gonna live in. I'm gonna. It's better to sort of maybe these prisoners will give me more respect if I get a life sentence as opposed to if I sort of finagle my way into a 5.5 year term if I get out with good behavior. Again, I like that point at Joe 1257. Again, I'm really ruminating on the ending here. I really do like that aspect for sure. The way it's written. And like I said, maybe it'll take me a while to sort of come around to the ending, but I do like that. I do like that for sure at Joe 1257. But again, I could talk again. I'm still waiting for someone to tell me why Jesse Pinkman is sort of a victim and why he also doesn't deserve to, again. He atoned by being that meth cook slave for 6 months. That was his atonement. But again, I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't. I'm still waiting for the certain set of words in a certain order, as Walt said to Jesse in the episode entitled "Fly," to change my opinion on Jesse Pinkman, because I'm still not there yet. I'm really trying. I'm really trying to come around to the Jesse Pinkman is a sort of misunderstood tragic guy. Oh, poor Jesse. So manipulated, so abused, really not responsible for his own actions. I'm still trying to come around to that, but who knows? It's been 10 years, but I'm still no, not quite 10 years, but it's almost 10 years, but I'm still trying. So at Richie MC, I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Well done for sure. Yeah, I mean, you said that's a little bit more blunt than I would say. I wouldn't go that far at Chauncey Holt, but yeah, I mean, they did anoint him for sure as a romantic hero. I don't know if I agree with that last part. Again, he's not a bad person in any respect. And again, who is good, who is bad? Again, it's very nuanced. There's like, I mean, maybe Lalo Salamanca is pure evil, but even that is sort of a little bit ambiguous in many respects. But it's just yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm still trying to figure it out with Jesse. I really am. Yeah, Joe 1257. I was not expecting him to get arrested in the very first act. That is for sure. So again, at Johnny, again, I talked about this a little bit on stream. I mean, Jesse sort of, he made his own luck too. Like I said, he had so many opportunities to get out. He really did. And in my opinion, in my humble opinion, he was tantalized by Walter White just like Saul Goodman was. So, again, I'm not too sure how I feel about that per se, but yeah, so I mean, yeah, add a kid named Finger. Yeah, Jesse deserved that ending. He was put through the ringer. That's kind of what they displayed to us. That's kind of what they displayed to us. He felt bad. And he sort of felt sorry for himself for all the things he did. But it is what it is. So that's definitely what the creators were trying to display to us. So at Lee Baroque as Johnson, maybe Ken Burns will do a documentary about the universe. That's something I never even thought about. That that's funny. I'll definitely probably watch it. Then again, I don't know. I'm not too well versed with Ken Burns, but who knows? Who knows? I mean, like I said, I wonder as Steve Bob JD said, I wonder what kind of staying power this universe has. I really do, especially if they don't sort of make any more iterations of it. So yeah, it's Sam Fisher. It's sort of the sort of self punishment of it all for sure. But again, like I said, like it's sort of like, well, they self punish so they don't have to go to prison. But like I said, I guarantee you there are people in serving life sentences just like Saul who felt really, really bad about what they did, like Kim and Jesse, but they're also in prison. They don't get to be not in prison because they feel bad. They don't say, oh, I'll self punish and I'll be very depressed in my life, and that's sort of atonement enough. I mean, there are people who are dealt even worse hands than Jesse and Kim. But again, like I said, it's I don't know if I'm ever gonna come around to this, but we'll see. So yeah, Johnny, I hope there is a full American Greed. I will watch that for sure. I don't know about a Ken Burns documentary. I'm not too well versed in Ken Burns. I know he's a very famous American historian. I mean, I've seen some of his stuff for sure, but not like an entire documentary. But yeah, if they do a whole American Greed, I will absolutely watch that. That sounds great. So that's Steve Bob JD. That's kind of what I insinuated in that sort of fan fiction video I made for sure. I think that would just be that would be a gold mine if they made a Bill Burr miniseries. I know. Bill Burr is not a dramatic actor, but I think that would just be I would be all over that if they did that. So. And again, at Justin Cruz, you say Jesse should go to prison, but is a free man. And again, I kind of talked about this when I was talking about El Camino. Like, it's kind of funny, they both used Ed to disappear. They both got away in the end, but Saul ended up getting made. And I mean, are we just supposed to assume that Jesse's what? I mean, if he was 25 years old in 2009-ish, the episode entitled, what was the episode? The episode entitled Crawl Space. Then he's around, if it's 2011 when he's in Alaska in El Camino, so he's around 27 years old. Are we just supposed to assume that Jesse never gets recognized? I mean, it's very possible that he gets recognized. And like I said, he's a wanted man as well. He was Walter White's, I would say, partner, if not, key lieutenant. So, who committed first-degree murder. Again, I know there's no evidence in any of it, sort of like Saul said there was no evidence, and maybe he would probably pull on the emotional heartstrings as well, and he would probably only go to jail for a little bit, especially if using Saul as a sort of a litmus test, and, who knows, maybe Oakley would represent him too, and sort of tell him what to say in respect to painting himself as a victim, and yeah, he wouldn't go to jail for the rest of his life, but I mean, I don't know how he would sort of, get around the Gail Bedecker murder when he's physically the one who pulls the trigger. I don't know if it's Your Honor, I was a methamphetamine distributor, and I was worried my boss would replace me and my partner with someone else, so we killed that person, and it was premeditated, and we ruminated on it for quite a while. Please, I'm very, very sorry. I don't know if that sort of is how we talk his way out of that one, and that's definitely life sentence with for that probably, first degree premeditated murder, but it's who knows? Maybe he would only serve 7 years also, and he would eventually get out, and he would I don't know. I don't know. I guess, but the whole premise is Jesse atoned by being that meth cook slave for 6 months. So again, I don't know. Again, it is what it is. It's again, I'll have plenty of time to ruminate on this. And like I said, I watched El Camino for the second time in my life this week, and I enjoyed it so much more, tenfold, than when I watched it back in 2019. So like I said, maybe I'll come around to this in the years to come as well. So yeah, Lee Barocas Johnson selling meth to people in rehab. Yeah, not the best thing. People trying to rehabilitate their life, and he wants to abuse them by selling them methamphetamine. Again, Jesse, he's very, very poor at dealing with his emotions. He really is. As like I said, as Tuco said as Saul said to Tuco in the episode entitled Miko. No, as Tuco said to Jimmy in the episode entitled Miho, use your words. Don't do these sort of terrible things to cope with your emotions. So. Thomas Theorist, absolutely right. He, like I said, Saul atoned, and I'm coming around to that. Saul atoned. He did it to save Kim. He, he was one to be responsible for his actions. Finally, he wanted to prove to Chuck, even though this doesn't do Chuck good much now, that he's atoning for his sins. If Jimmy was on a beach in Panama, or if he was in a prison, it's not going to make any difference to Chuck right now. But for Jimmy's own sake, again, it was his decision. He wanted to do this. He absolutely could have gotten 7 years, maybe 5.5 with good behavior. He absolutely could have done that, but it was his decision to atone. And like I said, I'm really kind of coming around to that. I really am. And the way they sort of end this series, but it's I always go back. It always goes back to Jesse Pinkman. 6 degrees of separation from Jesse Pinkman. So, at the Pattern Slice 9900, why is Saul getting those murder charges on his case, even though he literally had nothing to deal with it? He didn't even know about it until the death was in the basement with Walter. Yeah, I guess he did sort of know about it. No, he did know about it before that, because there's actually we know when he talked to Jesse in season 5 of Breaking Bad, the episode entitled Blood Money, he talks to him about how, He knows that the lawyers got killed. He was probably speaking with Walt about how they were going to kill the lawyers. And of course, we also know in that sort of deleted scene, Chicks and Guns, where he gives the gun to Jesse Pinkman in his house, where he says to him that he knows that the lawyers were killed. So he probably knows. Again, he was, like he said, he knew everything was happening, and he was perfectly okay with Walt doing all these things to save himself. He was an absolute willing participant in all of this, and he was telling the truth. And he wanted to, again, it was his decision in the end of the day. He wanted to do this. He wanted to give himself up, and he wanted to remain in prison. And, again, it was basically this or continue to run. I guess, he could have lived happily ever after. I guess he would have gotten out maybe 55, 57 years of age. He could have lived in, he could have lived in Florida on a beach somewhere. But again, I don't know. Maybe he feels like this is where he belongs. He belongs in prison. This is where he belongs. So again, I'm kind of coming around to that for sure. I really am. Where at Nick Marizana, Chuck is yodeling in his grave at Jimmy going to prison. So, yeah, I'm starting to come around to it. Again, it was Jimmy's choice. This was Jimmy's choice to atone. It really was. So, yeah, at Richie MC, kind of when he came clean to save Irene Landry. Again, Jimmy kind of, it's weird. He again, I'm kind of coming around to it actually now after 2 hours and change of talking about it. So. Really starting to come around to it where, it's kind of painting him as a good person where, at the time, I was doing all of these bad things and, maybe he was doing it as sort of a coping mechanism for, dealing with the tragedy of, the fact that he wasn't with Kim anymore, as an emotional coping mechanism. But yeah, he felt like he needed to atone. And yeah, that's sort of what he came around to. I definitely agree. He definitely feels like he needs to atone for sure. And that's his decision. And again, it's his decision and he came around to it. But again, I hate to sort of, always go back to this sort of a sour note here. But again, I feel like Jesse feels like he has absolutely nothing to atone for. Nothing whatsoever. He already paid for his crimes and some by being that Jack Walker's captive. He does not. I don't know if Jesse feels the same way. Again, in El Camino, when the cops finally got him, he did turn himself in. He wasn't going to kill a bunch of cops when he thought Neil and Casey were police officers and actually weren't criminals who were breaking into Todd's house to try to get his money. But again, it's very complicated. It's very nuanced. There's so many emotions here. So it is what it is. Again, I'm sort of coming around to it again. Even just sort of talking through all this, it kind of makes me come around to the ending a little bit more. So yeah, at Nestor Perina, what about Jeff? So yeah, I guess like I said, I guess he's going to prison for identity theft. So at AP, there definitely was symmetry in respect to the smoking scene for sure. That was almost even the music was the exact same. So. And again, I'm really starting to come around to the ending here for sure in respect to Saul atoning for what he did, saying, I really want to atone for everything. And, again, like I said, it was his decision. It was absolutely his decision where he could have kept going down the Saul Goodman path where, he could have gotten 7 years, but who knows? Maybe like he did in the episode entitled Breaking Bad and Waterworks where he broke into the Marks house. Maybe he would have just sort of went down that road again and sort of would have found himself in this exact same situation. But as I talked about in my streams with Jesse Pinkman, I know it's sort of Jesse's going to go live happily ever after in Alaska, but as we've seen over the course of Breaking Bad, he's horrible at articulating his emotions, and any time that anything sets him off, he goes back to substance abuse. I mean, the death of Combo, he starts using methamphetamine, he breaks his sobriety after Tomas is killed in Season 3 of Breaking Bad in the episode entitled Half Measures. He's just an emotional wreck after he has to kill Gale. So very bad at articulating his emotions. So I mean, we kind of just assume that Jesse's never is gonna, go on the straight and narrow and he's gonna be able to turn himself around. But again, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe he'll sort of, revert back to his worst habits, like maybe Saul would have if he even got out after 5.5 years. So with a good behavior. So. Ooh, yeah, definitely not a good idea to breathe water. That was not good. But yeah, in the grand scheme of at Lee Baroque as Johnson, yeah, owning his sins. I've really started to come around to that. I really have. It was Saul's decision to atone for everything, And he's finally now being a good person. He's kind of being the sort of upstanding person as Manuel Varga, told him, has told kind of Nacho to be, go to the police, own what you did. I'm not going to run. And that's kind of what Saul did in the end. He was a sort of good person by admitting, when I was doing all of these things, I was not a victim. I was willfully doing all of this. I deserve to go to prison for the rest of my life. I agree with that. But again, I actually am really sort of coming around to the ending now. I really am liking it. How, and he loved Kim. It really seems as though he loved Kim and he wishes he could have been with Kim for the rest of his life. But, and if he had that time machine, he would have been, he didn't say it, but, maybe these actions sort of, are describing this to us, where he would have, lived with Kim for the rest of his life, someone he truly loved and truly had an emotional connection with. But, he decided to, face what he did and said, when I was doing all these things, I was a willful participant and I deserve to go to prison. But like I said, I guess, but I don't know if Jesse feels the same way. I really don't. I feel like atone for what? I didn't do anything wrong. I'm a victim. Walt manipulated me. So I don't know. Again, it is what it is. But yeah, I've definitely come around to the Saul ending. I really, really have. So, oh man, I mean, yeah, quite a ride for sure, man. It's hard to believe that it's finally over, but yeah, it is here. So it came and went, and it's a little bit surreal. It's a little bit surreal that it's finally over, but yeah, it was quite a ride indeed, and with that, I think I'm gonna have to end the stream here. It's actually very late. I was really talking about this for quite a while. I went on for even a lot longer than I thought it would. But then I had a lot to say about this for sure. And I've definitely kind of really come around to the ending after just sort of working this out. I really have. I really sort of understand the sort of thinking about Saul's actions here. And yeah, at H-Town Jr., what about so many things? What about Brock? What about Gus? What about the Super Lab? What about the Diamonds? What about the lawyer that Saul gave to Francesca? What I could go on and on and on about all the open-ended aspects of the show. And just by the nature of the show, there's going to be open-ended aspects of the show. And again, this is quite a pull here, but if there are any efforts for family fans out there, that show just ended as well. And I thought that show ended absolutely unbelievably. I don't want to spoil the ending, but the ending was just great. It was, it just ended. It was done very, very well. And by definition, there are going to be open-ended things. There were a lot of open-ended aspects of that series, F is for Family, the way they ended it. But yeah, and by definition, you're not going to be able to tie a bow on every little thing. There was open-ended things in Breaking Bad. We still don't know how Brock was poisoned on a step-by-step basis. There's still the mysterious Chilean past for Gus Fring that we thought would be addressed in Better Call Saul. But really, after Better Call Saul, it's even more mysterious than before Better Call Saul. The Chilean past ending. So. Yeah, but like I said, on that note, I think I'm going to have to end it here. It is quite late. I do have things to do tomorrow. But at Hector, hey, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate that. You were too kind. Yeah, it has been quite a ride, man. I've enjoyed the conversation. So, yeah, it is. It is what it is, man. It's finally here. Like I talked about when after the episode entitled "Plan and Execution," there was that 7-week break. I was like, man, that's such a long time away, But like I said, that came and went, and here we are, the finale finally is here, and like I said, I've definitely come around to the ending much more after talking about it for however long this was, like 2 hours and change. I really sort of, I understand the sort of rationale of Saul, where, yeah, he does kind of atone. You will atone, as he says, and he absolutely did. So, yeah, he did atone, and, like I said, I still have some thoughts about Jesse Pinkman, but I don't want to sort of, I could go on about that forever. But yeah, like I said, really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for all the support tonight and all the super chats. Really appreciate all the support. At Nestor Perina, I've showed my face in many previous live streams. Actually, I actually show my face in the episode when I review the episode entitled Bagman, one of my favorite episodes of this entire universe. One of my favorite episodes, but I show my face in that. If you go back and watch my review for Bagman in season 5 of Better Call Saul, you can see my ugly mug if you want at Nestor Perina. This is not I've shown my face many times, so it's not like I've been hiding it for sure. It's out there if you want to see what I look like. At Raul Sanchez, thank you so much for the super chat, Don. Quite the preface there. No homo, but I'm going to miss you, bro. This channel was one of the true bright spots of my bright spots of my and many others' week. Thank you for everything. Oh, you're too kind, man. You're really, really kind in respect to that, man. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I don't know what the channel holds in the long term future. I mean, I think there's still some videos to make in respect to the ending a little bit. You know, yeah, it was that's got me still kind of laughing with your preface there, but like I said, I think there's still there's some thoughts to be made in respect to the ending in the sort of immediate future. It's actually a pretty busy week for me for sure. Actually, it's a pretty busy weekend for me, and I have a lot going on. But it's like I said, I think there's definitely some more videos out there to be made in the immediate future. Again, I don't know what the channel holds in the long term, but yeah, this was quite a ride indeed. It was it was cool. It was really cool. Sort of again, talking about the show. I really enjoyed hearing different people's perspectives in the chat. I learned a lot from other people's perspectives and things like that. But yeah, it's again, it's still a little bit surreal here. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna have to end it here. Thank you again so much for all the support, all the super chats. Really appreciate all of it. Yeah, I did enjoy these streams. It's something I never did before. But yeah, I enjoyed it for sure. It's definitely kind of, I like making videos too, but it's nice. This format is nice as well. I really kind of enjoy the sort of, the kind of riffing off the top of my head in respect to the open sort of forum here. But yeah, we'll see again. I'll probably be posting some videos this week, but it is actually coincidentally an extremely busy week for me. But yeah, I should be posting videos about the ending a little bit. And also there's some other thoughts I want to say in respect to, some open-ended aspects of this universe for sure. Yeah, at Relax and Sleep. Yeah, really appreciate all the support, man. Thanks for watching. So, like I said, there's definitely some videos I want to make in respect to some open-ended aspects of the storyline of Better Call Saul again and Breaking Bad. Again, I'm not sure about the timetable of all that. And as Steve Bob JD says, you wonder about the staying power of this universe. The kind of very sobering thing about waking up one day and realizing you hadn't thought about it, but. Yeah, at Haggard Hot Rods, that's all, folks. So yeah, like I said, it's been quite a ride. Really enjoyed doing these streams. Really enjoyed talking about Season 6 of Better Call Saul after not really posting for a year and a half. Didn't really get to post during Season 5. It was kind of a crazy time in that 2020, 2021 era. But yeah, so really appreciated having the conversation tonight. Really appreciated being able to talk about this final episode, and take it easy. Have a, it's pretty late here on the East Coast, but have a great day tomorrow. And I'll see you guys around. Take care. Have a good one.